Welcome back to Eurosport. We are live here from Le Mans. Andre Lotterer leads the great race. It's an Audi 1-2-3 at the moment. Dindo Capello on his 48th birthday in second place, and Oliver Jarvis, the man from Newmarket, having his first Le Mans with a factory team. He did race here once with Collins, didn't finish, but Ollie given his head in one of the Audi Ultras in third place. Nico Prost in fourth, best of the petrol runners for Rebellion Lola, and Marc Genet, whose car, the number 3 Audi, was crashed by Romain Dumas yesterday afternoon, but has clawed its way back up from what was 29th place now to 5th, and is knocking on the door of that 4th place. So it's almost heading for an Audi walkover, Liz, but we've got 9 hours of racing almost still to go.
Yeah, it's what we were saying, is it sort of feels like you're coming down, you know, the home stretch when you come into daylight at Le Mans, and then the realization sets in that you have until 3 p.m. to still keep running, and it is a lot of hours still to go as we watch the Signatech car being pushed back into the garage. They have had some problems with that car as well. I know they had a spin and I think some contact with the wall later in the night. Not entirely sure what's happened at this point, but we shall hopefully figure out something. Great inside shot there in the car as well, where you can see all of the components in the cockpit.
So Stuart Hall, back from hopefully a good night's sleep. Just remind viewers, they're expecting to see you on track, of course, driving for the Pescarolo team, but it wasn't the greatest of returns for that car, was it?
No, been a very difficult week, Mark. A few teething troubles during the week, and then some bigger problems put pay to our race. Unfortunately, I didn't even get in it, so you know, very disappointing week. But you know, I always knew my place was this commentary booth for this weekend's race.
Yeah, let's not be too downbeat, Stuart. You did get track time on Thursday. You were out there for quite a long time in the car, weren't you? We were watching you, we were monitoring you.
No, I did about an hour on Thursday night, you know, but the problem is we're just lacking in pace, especially at night. To try and get tyre temperature at night was very difficult indeed, and we hadn't done enough testing, and you know, that just was basically a bit of a downward spiral. But you know, I think the car could be very good. We just need some time to develop it, and that's what we've got now. You know, Le Mans is over for another year for us, and we'll fight another day and hopefully come back faster and stronger.
Yeah, this of course was last year's AMR1 chassis, which your mentor Roland Goethe owns, doesn't he? And he put you into the team along with Henri because of your past history with Pescarolo, your great race at Le Mans. What's it, 3 years ago now with Martin Short? 5 years ago. Doesn't time fly? But that Pescarolo you took to a petrol win, absolutely stunning success there.
No, it was brilliant. 2007 still remains to be probably my best year in motorsport, thanks to Martin and the guys. You know, when you have one of those years at Le Mans where everything just works for you, apart from Bourdais finally getting over the line, that didn't really work for us. We thought we had a podium, but you know, it was a fantastic year, and I think everyone will say that the old Pescarolo 1 was probably one of the best, you know, one of the best privateer Le Mans cars you could own. You know, it was always on the button, it was robust, it was easy to drive, and it was sort of just the perfect weapon you could have around this circuit. Unfortunately, the car we've got now isn't quite the perfect weapon you have around this circuit, but you know, hopefully we can transform it into the perfect weapon and come back next year sort of a bit stronger and a bit faster, and hopefully be able to challenge for not LMP1 honours, but you know, perhaps where the Rebellions are now.
Yeah, no. Okay, this is Le Mans, but it's only a small part of your racing season, isn't it? I mean, you're racing McLaren, you're racing Aston Martin, so you've got a very full programme. No,
it's been I've been very lucky. It's been very busy. Been driving a McLaren with Rold in the Blancpain Endurance Series. You know, that's a fantastic series this year. You've got probably 60 odd GT3 cars all fighting against each other, very competitive. And myself and Rold are also doing some selected WEC and Le Mans Series rounds in the GT2 Aston, and you never know, you might see us out in a WEC round in an Aston Martin later on in the year.
The McLaren programme, of course, it's coming much stronger now. That they've had a lot of teething problems to start with, but then Fred Makovicky was one of the double winners last time out in the World Championship, so they are getting there, aren't they?
It's a new programme, and you know, McLaren are doing a really good job just trying to develop the car, trying to get it good in all conditions. I think it is over one lap in the right conditions an unbeatable car. But you know, as you know, that's not quite what you need to be successful all year round. You know, we've got a bit of work to do over the course of a stint to try and make the tyres last, and we've got a bit of work to do to make the car work in the wet, you know, which is going to be very important for the Spa 24 Hours. But you know, McLaren are working very hard. All at Gulf Racing are working very, very hard indeed to try and get that car as competitive as possible. So hopefully come Spa 24 Hours in 6 weeks' time, I think it is, we'll have a shot at, you never know, a podium.
Excellent. Have you got your hands on a McLaren yet, Liz, the new one?
I haven't, but I would happily, you know, have a go.
Yeah, have a chat with Stuart after the programme and we'll... What about your racing programme this year, Liz? You're still heavily involved, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I'm back racing. I didn't do much last year. I've been very, very busy with the equestrian side of my life. That's been flat out, and I've got about 12 horses to compete this year, which is great. So that's very busy. So mostly been focusing on that, but I am back racing this year in the Lotus Cup UK Championship. So a little bit lower scale than what I've done in the past, but it works with my timing, and it means it gets me out in a really competitive racing series in a great car. So with John Danby Racing, I'll give them a big up today. They're actually racing at Castlecombe today, but I'm here. So
right.
but yeah, good luck to the other car that's running, and hopefully they have a win today. But I know it's a great championship and over 40 cars on the grid, so it gets me back in a car and doing stuff, and hopefully I can maybe throw something together for some 24-hour racing next year and maybe come back here, who knows.
Yeah, now last year we were talking about your hopes to represent the United States in the Olympics in London this year. Obviously that didn't happen, but Rio is now your next target, I guess.
Yeah, I sort of knew I wasn't going to have a horse ready in time for 2012. A few years ago I would have said I did, but unfortunately the horse I had at the time isn't sound anymore. So yeah, I've got quite a few nice young horses, and some coming up through the grades, and riding a few for other people that are very special. So I'm definitely an aim for Rio, and hopefully get myself to the Badminton Horse Trials very soon, and see what happens. Really, both sports are tricky to manage time-wise, and do the best we can. The
other thing we talked about last year was the Alfa Romeo, your dad's car that you were racing.
Yes, yeah, we had a lovely 1960 Alfa Romeo SZ Codotronca. I'm still hoping to maybe get that in at Goodwood this year, which would be great, and I ran that at Goodwood the year before, and yeah, just like to give a quick tribute to my dad, who really, really loved this race, and he very sadly passed away this May, and he was a real driver, and just loved everything about motorsport, and was here when we finished in 2006, and here for some of the big wins I had, and a brilliant driver himself. He was my teacher, and you know, I'm sure he's able to be watching this race again now, which is what he really loved.
Yeah, and so I understand your mother should be listening in California.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. She said she managed to get the Eurosport player going, and it's always a little bit tricky in these various parts of the world, but great to have everybody listening from all over.
What a great story, and to be able to have a father who can mentor you in motorsport. And Stuart, exactly the same for you, of your dad.
Yeah, no, the old man did a bit in his past, you know. And you know, there's a reason why I'm here, and the reason why I've started. Continue to play a major role in my career. If I can't pick up the phone to anyone, he will, and you know, just hope now is hopefully just enjoying the fact that he can sit back and watch me race and enjoy that. But unfortunately, he's not here. But you know, he'll be watching. Well, I expect he'll probably be dozing right now, to be honest, and generally does that at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, most of us do. I mean, Liz mentioned 4:48 a little while ago. I'd never even heard of that before.
Oh gosh, I have. Be involved in horses, and you know that time of day far too often.
Looking out time.
Anyway. No, more like getting in the lorry and driving somewhere time.
Yeah, of course. So there is one of the Lavra cars just going out there. So they're still running like bullets, aren't they? We've been talking about how bulletproof these Corvettes are, but the factory cars, just a few little problems there, little niggles on the way, and actually it's Ferrari 1-2, Aston 3 in GT Pro this year, and I don't think that Detroit Iron's going to have the success it hoped for.
No, I think think there's starting to become a few more troubles there than we'd like to see. And just looking at that flashing blue light on the Felbermeyer Porsche, a few people have been asking us about that. The main purpose for that is just so the team can recognize the cars in pit lane and know that they're coming down there in the dark, really. I don't think there's anything much more special going on with that, unless Stuart can enlighten me further. But
no, not really. Just, I believe it's just identifying light.
Yep.
We had a nice green strip on the side of ours.
Yeah, where you will see that blue light a lot is in the VLN and Nürburgring 24 Hours Series, where they race on the Nordschleife, and they do have those, as you say, for the exact reason. You've got very crowded pits at Nürburgring. 3-4 teams have to share a pit sometimes, 200 starters, and that helps identify your car when it's coming down pit lane. You're absolutely right, Liz.
And we've got some more viewers from all over the world. We've got Estonia, Italy, Hong Kong, Perth, Australia, Taiwan even. So
excellent.
Great to have you guys all watching us and sending through your thoughts on Twitter.
Any names there we can do a check on?
Yeah, I've got so many. I've got to let me find them here again. We've got Alexander Demicho. Did I pronounce that right? From Italy. We've got Sasha Paulenberg in Taiwan, or German living in Taiwan, in fact.
Right.
So a nice mixture, and many more people. Yeah, many more.
So why isn't Alexander listening to the German service? Because he can't get it. This is Eurosport International, British Eurosport, broadcasting live from Le Mans, 8:42 in the morning, and still, sorry, no, it's 6:30 in the morning, 8 hours and 42 minutes still to go. Andre Lotterer leads from Dindo Capello, Ollie Jarvis. Audi 1, 2, 3 in P1. In P2, it is the 44 car. That is the Starworks car of Enzo Potoliccio, Ryan Dial, who's done such a good job through the night, and also last year's winner Tom Kimber-Smith, who was with Greaves last year. He did a great job in the evening as well to get that car pushed up through the orders for lead P2 from Pierre Capper's Oreca and Nelson Panchitish's Oreca, both Nissan powered. Jimmy Brunny leads for AF Corse Ferrari in the Pro category of GT, 19th overall, and our AM leaders are still, well, they've just changed. Stuart Nico Armindo in the IMSA Porsche has gone ahead of Patrick Bornhauer's Labra Corvette, and they're on the same lap, 13 seconds between them, so that one has never been any more apart than that.
No, it's been all through the race. The GT battles have been pretty close. Jimmy Bruni's leading comfortably at the moment in GT Pro, but there's a fantastic battle between Frederic Makoviecki and Stefan Mucker. Those cars run into a little bit of trouble at the start of the race, but they're coming back through the pack now. Both guys very quick. Both guys still below sub 4 minutes in a GT car, which is you know, a tidy pace by anyone's standard. Makoviecki obviously got pole in that Ferrari by a tidy margin. Stefan Mucker was the guy that qualified the McLaren, so sorry, not the McLaren, the Aston.
Yep.
Obviously Nicholas Armindo needs no introduction in the AM class. He's definitely one of the quickest guys in the Porsche. Ex-Super Cup driver, been driving for IMSA for a long time now. And Patrick Bornhaus is doing a very good job in the Labra Corvette. Like you say, those guys have been very close, and the two cars, you know, Corvette, Porsche, mostly very reliable. So that looks to be a fight that's going to continue throughout the rest of this race.
Yeah, Armindo, as you say, a standout in AM, and I think, to my mind, I think Liz maybe as well, Fred Makoviecki has been an absolute star this weekend.
Yeah, we've talked about him a lot, actually, and the fact that nearly every GT car he's ever set foot in, he's either led the race, put it on pole, or won it, pretty much. So, and I think he definitely stepped up to the plate in qualifying with that car as well. So he's certainly going to be the man to watch, and if anybody's going to be sent out to catch the car that's running in the front, he's going to be the one.
Yeah, and it's only, just 3 weeks ago he had that double win at Navarra, didn't he, in the Hexis McLaren. So that's hence Stuart saying Makoviecki McLaren. You sort of get someone fixed in your mind, don't you, the type of cars they drive. Ferrari here, though, this weekend, luxury Ferrari. He was fastest in the test weekend as well, so he's just carried that speed through the whole event this year. Really
impressive. We've got a request on Twitter, a question that's probably going to suit you and I here, Stuart. George Soropos, did I pronounce that right? Just said, hi Liz and crew. Liz, can you please talk a bit about the physical prep you had to do for a long race like Le Mans? Well, I know Stuart can tell us a lot about that, as he's just been here this weekend, and I mean, I know I was lucky that I had a lot of horses to ride, so that helped, and and some upper body work, and obviously some running and a lot of neck work for someone like myself, being a girl. But Stuart, tell us what you've worked on as well coming up to this race. I know you found out only about 3 weeks ago, but surely you were the pinnacle of fitness before that.
Yeah, no, I found out about 3 weeks ago, so most of my preparation was done in the pub with a dartboard. But no, you know, being you know, deadly serious, you know, you have to be very physically fit to drive these cars. Both GT cars and prototypes give different demands on the body. The prototype is all about the high G-forces. You know, you go through some of these quick corners, they put ultra high G-forces, you know, 3-4 G on your body at some points, especially in the Audi and Toyota. And it really does work your neck muscles. It almost feels like your head's going to be ripped off your shoulders when you hit the brakes. And it leads me right into my next question. We just saw number 4 Audi come in for a full service. Those guys have been trying to do quadruple stints. That means they're in the car for the best part of 3.5, 4 hours. Now, you might think, oh, we're sitting down, but if you're in that car for 3.5, 4 hours, it's a challenge for most people to drive on the motorway for 3.5, 4 hours without stopping for a coffee break or something like that. These guys are pushing the cars to the limits, have no bones about it. This is endurance racing, but they're still pushing. All right, the Audis aren't in a particularly tough fight at the moment, so they might be able to relax slightly, but they still each want to win. You know, Andre Lotterer wants to win it for a second time. The A-team, Capello, Christensen, McNish, they want to win it for the umpteenth time. And Rocky wants to get back on the top step of the podium with the 2 new boys, Marco Bonomi and Ollie Jarvis. So, you know, whilst Audi are probably being a bit more sensible than they normally would, they're still pushing, and the demands on the body are fantastically high, like I say, with the neck and also the concentration. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. They're used to being asleep now. Their bodies are used to being asleep, and that's where mistakes can be made. So not only do you have to be physically very fit, you have to be mentally very fit. Regarding the GT cars, it's generally more about the heat, and the GT car is moving about a lot more, so the inputs to the steering wheel are a lot more, you know, violent than they would be in a prototype, which is a bit more precise, and the heat of the car is much higher. Maybe an Audi might be fairly hot, but the fact that you've got a GT car, especially something like the Aston Martin that's front engine, and the heat dissipates from the engine straight back into the cockpit, it just saps the energy from you. There's no air in the car whatsoever, even though they do have sort of air conditioning. I'll say sort of air conditioning systems, because they're pretty rubbish, really. I've had first-hand, you know.
Yeah, I know the feeling on that one.
And so someone like Darren Turner, whilst he won't need to have the neck strength of someone, for example, like Ollie Jarvis, you know, he's going to have to, you know, he's going to have to withstand the heat. He's going to have to,
you have to train for that a bit, don't you? You've almost got to mentally as well train for that heat, don't you? I always found you had to sort of be ready to cope with that in a different sort of way.
So yeah, you know, you do have to be very physically fit. You know, some of these guys, the fittest sportsmen in the world by my standards. You might not think it, but go go-karting for 15 minutes and you'll find out.
An average heart rates of around about 160 to 170 beats per minute for 3.5 hours. So that's a long time.
We're going to be taking a commercial break in a minute or two. We'll come back to that theme. It's a good theme. So some other people asking about the adrenaline, how long that continues on a long stint. We'll get that answered. But meanwhile, some bad news for the JMW Motorsport team from Colchester. Their car has stopped at Marshall's Post 50. That's halfway between the first and second chicanes on the Mulsanne, and rookie James Walker is on board that car. We'll have more news when we come back on Eurosport after this break. Back with Eurosport live at Le Mans. It is 6:27 in the morning. We've got 8.5 hours still to go. It's Audi 123 in P1 for the great race, and it's Andre Lotterer, last year's winner and the previous year's vice champion, who is leading the race here as sun just comes up over the eastern side of the circuit and making conditions probably a little bit difficult for a few minutes. Stuart Hall.
Certainly very difficult, Mark, as we're on board now with Marc Gené in the number 3 Audi, just come out of Tête Rouge onto the Mulsanne straight. This is one of the few areas on the track where the body gets a little bit of a rest, but the mind doesn't. You're getting up to 200 mile an hour here. And just now you're looking in the distance, you're planning where you're going to find the traffic next. You come past the restaurant on the left-hand side of the Auberge. Now you're looking for the braking point. Just after 200 metres, on the brake, down from 200 mile an hour, down to 40 or 50 mile an hour, through the first chicane, down to third gear, out of the chicane, back on the power, back onto the Mulsanne straight. Great view of the Audi now, tanking down the Mulsanne straight, up to 200 mile an hour. He'll move over to the right-hand side of the track because the second chicane's on the way up. The second chicane, just like the first chicane, but on the other side, it's a left, right, left. It's slightly quicker, you brake slightly later. So we can go back on board. I was enjoying myself there. Nope, so into the first chicane, staying away from the second chicane, sorry. Good call. Staying away from the curbs. The curbs are quite jagged, there's a lot of dust and a lot of sharp bits on them, especially in the second chicane, so it's very easy to get a puncture. But out of the second chicane, back down the Mulsanne, over the two humps. We're going to be coming into Mulsanne corner. Down into Mulsanne corner is where Davidson had his big accident yesterday. Onto the brakes at the curb, braking down to first gear, get the car turned in, back on the power now. Still using the curb, so he's still getting that car, pushing it nice and hard. Out of Arnage, sorry, not Arnage, Mulsanne, I'm getting tired now. Out of Mulsanne corner, count the kinks. First kink, and we've cut away.
Wow.
So
fastest lap Stuart's done this weekend. Oh, he said that. Excellent.
Only lap.
Yeah.
In the race.
In the race. But yeah, in that Indianapolis section, of course, fastest part of the circuit, the speed traps in the race showing Toyota at 335 kilometres, Audi 333. So not a lot in it, but it does show that Toyota might be just slightly that bit more slippery.
Yeah, and a great shot here coming through the last corner of the Porsche curves. This is where we've seen so many of the cars have huge accidents. It's the one corner you really want to avoid going off on. And so fast through there. We should see them coming right in front of us now. You can see the Ferris wheel. We're just opposite that, charging down into the corners of number one. And the Oak Racing car just leaving there as well.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for people who don't race to comprehend just what massive speed you carry in these cars.
And it's the slowing speed. You don't actually always realize, I don't know if Stuart will agree with me, how fast you're going until you actually hit the brakes. It sort of is your chance to rest on these long straights and sort of try and take a deep breath and make sure you're not holding yourself in the car for such long stints. But as soon as you hit the brakes, it's very much realization of how fast you're actually going.
So this is the 42 car, the Greaves Motorsport car being pushed back. This is last year's winner, of course, the little Zytek. And that's got Mark Brundle and Lucas, Alex Brundle, I mean, yes, and Lucas Ordonez on board. Lucas, last year's PlayStation Academy driver, something you've been heavily involved in this year, Liz?
Well, last year, in fact.
Yeah,
last year.
Paying results this year, yeah.
Yes, yeah, no, I was a judge for the US GT Academy last year. We've actually got, well, the winner was Brian Highcutter, and he's done really well. They have raced in the Dubai 24 Hours, and he's gone on to be on pole, I believe, quite recently. I think it was at Mid-Ohio, so it's been really great. And really, all the GT Academy winners have gone on and been winners in their own right. We've got the second place US GT Academy finisher here, in fact, with the Flying Lizards, Sean Johnston. He's currently leading the GT3 Porsche Championship in America. So really, it does just show that these drivers who've come out of nothing but a video game can really do it on the track, and as long as they can transfer their head over into the weight changes in a race car, I find that then they're already up to speed in their brain. It's amazing. The hand-eye coordination is there, and away they go.
So who was on board this car when it came in?
It was Lucas.
It was Lucas, yeah. Martin Brundle, of course, most senior driver of the team there. Always associated with Le Mans, Martin, but this is actually only his 8th participation. Jaguar, of course, they won, came here 3 times with them, one in 1990. Then he was with Toyota, beautiful GT1, one that's still a car many people say is one of the best Le Mans cars ever, best looking, certainly, that GT1. And then came back with Bentley in 01, driving with Guy Smith and Stefan Ortelli. If he'd stayed one more year at the team, he might have won with Guy Smith. But Martin, of course, now having made his career as a Formula 1 commentator, and we did mention last night when he was in Canada, Montreal last week, he said, although I was commentating on the race, my mind was already set on Le Mans. So, Stuart, we talked about the physical needs at Le Mans, but you've got a mindset as well about facing the race, and then the adrenaline factor as well.
Oh, you do. You need a very, very tough mind, because you put your mind and body through an awful lot through 24 hours, and you go through highs and you go through lows, and you've got to be able to manage that. With adrenaline, it's a wonderful thing, but it can also be a very dangerous thing as well. You know, too much adrenaline, you can push a bit too hard, get a bit too excited, and throw the car in the wall or make a mistake or something like that. So, you know, a prime example of adrenaline is in qualifying on Thursday night. You know, it was my first proper run in the car. You know, I had about an hour in it, and I couldn't get to sleep till probably 3 o'clock in the morning afterwards, because you get out of the car buzzing. You know, it's first real time back in an LMP1 car. These cars are terrifically fast. As we're on board now with Rocky in number 4 car, currently in 3rd place. They're terrifically fast. They're hard on the brakes. They put your body through a lot, and when you get out, you're buzzing, and it does take a long time to calm down.
The other thing that I found really interesting is no matter how much you train ahead for this, and you can do as many static exercises, weightlifting, you know, lifting weights with your head even for the neck strength, you can do your best to be strong for it, but nothing replaces actual seat time in a race car for your fitness. I certainly found that when I wasn't racing as much and got into a very fast race car, and I found that I really struggled with the physical forces of it, even though I was probably fitter than I had been when I drove before. But because I didn't have the sport-specific fitness, it really made a difference. And I'm sure, Stuart, you would have found that you were probably in good shape, having driven so many cars this year, that you could have just jumped into the car and come to Le Mans. But you know, if it'd been someone like myself, I think I would have needed to train a little bit more to be really ready to jump straight into a very fast race car, having not driven it in the year previous.
No, motorsport is one of those sports where if you're, you know, it's so expensive that training, like any normal sport you train every day. Motorsport, you just can't do it. So you're expected just to jump in a car every week, or if you're lucky, or every month if you're unlucky, and just be on the pace and be fit enough. So it's very difficult. It's not like football or cricket where you go out with your teammates every day and you train and you work on specific aspects of it. You know, you probably get, if you're an Audi driver, once or twice a week just to jump in that car, prove your worth, and then the rest of the training's done in the gym. So like this is very, very difficult to be race fit, and especially if you haven't driven much, just coming into a race and being fit and on the pace is very, very difficult. But at the end of the day, you've just got to
get on with
man up, and that's what I, you know,
basically push on through. Basically,
for example, this race was, you know, I was a bit concerned about my neck as we're seeing a shot of the guys now working on the dome. You know, Jean-Christophe Bouillon decided not to race, so it was going to be myself and Manu Collard, who actually drove the Toyota GT1 back in the day. I was actually having a conversation about that the other day, and you know, at the end of the day, it was going to hurt, but you've just got to get on with it and do it, because you know that's your job. And if you have a sore neck tomorrow morning, you have a sore neck tomorrow morning, but you're not paid to whine and do that about it.
Yeah, I understand. Henri actually told the media when he's asked about just 2 drivers in the car, he said, well, I always drove just with 2 drivers, and his 3 Matras, of course, were out here, the cars he won in, you must have had a look at those and thought, my goodness, did he really race those for 24 hours?
You know, we weren't asked if we could do it with 3 drivers. We were told.
2, you mean? Yeah.
2 drivers, yeah. We weren't asked if we wanted to do it. We were told, you know. And now that's the first thing he said. He said, I must have done it 30 times with 2 drivers, so I'm sure you lads can do it once.
Oh, so that is a true story. Yeah, but you're up for it, Stuart. You love it. You'd have been upset if he hadn't said that.
Yeah, and you always have to give it a go. Race, especially also Le Mans. The more track time you get here, the better. So had I had my full 12 hours, it'd have been a huge amount of experience for me, having not driven for 3 years around this circuit.
And here's the magic of Le Mans, the helicopter pilot and the onboard camera just spotting some of the local villages. That's Changé, that little village on the hill there that some of us get lost in occasionally.
That Mark and I had a little excursion through the other day.
You think of it as Le Mans has been completely flat, but there are hills just around here. The sand hills of Lassat is a problem for the 45 car. That is Jan Peterson.
So he's just gone straight on there.
The Batson Ginian car, one of Terry Batson's eponymous teams. Terry Batson, of course, who did race here and finished his career here, didn't he? He had a big accident, hurt his back, and didn't race at Le Mans anymore after that. Just a harmless spin by the look of it.
Yeah, but he does appear to be going quite slowly, so I'm not sure if there's maybe a problem there that's caused the spin. hard for us to know at this stage, but he's definitely not going that fast. Picking up a little bit of speed. Oh no, that's a different car.
No, this is a great view of the Starworks car, leading LMP2 at the moment. Enzo Potolicchio at the wheel. Now, Enzo is an amateur driver, and I think he's making his debut at Le Mans. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah, he's making his debut at Le Mans. He was second at Daytona 24 Hours this year. They won Sebring as well. A bit of a torrid time at Spa, but they're back at Le Mans. Sorry, they're not back at Le Mans, they are at Le Mans. And my good friend Tom Kimber-Smith has been drafted into that team. I don't think they could have a better guy to replace Stefan Tarazan. He is Mr. LMP2 at the moment, and every time he gets in that car, it's like a missile.
Yeah, this is Peter Barron's team, of course. They've been racing many years in Grand Am, mainly in Porsches, but Peter 2 years ago took the big step to actually go LMP racing, prototype racing. Team manager Brian Colangelo and technical manager Steve Chalice, and Steve has been engineering these cars all the time. They chose the HPD route this year because they see the work that people like Highcroft have done in the past, and it is the chassis to have, isn't it, in America?
Yeah, no, I think it is at the moment, and they've just proven what a good car it is, and we've seen a lot of reliability from these cars as well. We saw that in years past also from some of the winners and second place finishers, and now it's 2 HPD together on the track in 7th and 8th place. Peter Dunbrack really moving up through the order. They've had some problems before, but really starting to pick it up now.
Yeah, the difference, of course, between the LMP1 Honda, the HPDs, that the LMP1 cars have the V8 engine, which is still turbocharged, isn't it? But this is the V6 that they use in the P2 leading car.
Right, I didn't know that,
yep.
So thank you.
Still turbocharged.
I'll admit I wasn't aware of the difference.
Twin turbo, indeed. Have you ever driven an HPD?
No, never driven a HPD.
No, I have.
Have you?
Yeah, on the simulator at work. It's great.
Right, nice.
And Bravs was my tutor.
Then I have driven a HPD.
Right. Of course, one of the stories around this, the chassis developed by Worth Engineering at Bicester in the UK. The whole car designed and tested on CAD computer. Never actually went near a wind tunnel. This is one of the great claims to fame. The trouble is Nick Worth tried to carry this into his next project, which was the Formula 1 program, and that was a different kettle of fish. But
oh no, this is a disaster for the 97 car. Oh,
and it's just done its quickest lap of the race as well.
No, what a disaster. Yeah, he's just done a fastest sector time. And where is that, Stuart? It's in the 3rd sector, so are we in the
96. It's outside of Indianapolis.
Oh no.
And here we are, it's exactly where we saw it.
Oh, that was some speed as well.
Yeah. Who was it we saw yesterday? One of the lizards.
Yeah.
Seth Neiman, was it?
Oh no, what a disaster for that team. They've worked so hard and we're just climbing their way back up as well. They've just bumped up from 3rd place up to 2nd, purely from the efforts of their driving.
You know, we'll say where he's gone off, especially in a GT car. As you go through Indianapolis in a prototype, there's a huge amount of downforce and the car's very stable, but in a GT car the car's loaded up and it's very unstable on the exit, and if you just miss your braking point ever so slightly, it's very easy to swap ends, and it just looks like what Stefan's done. We don't know the cause yet, so I might be being a little bit harsher, but
it's very slippery as well, isn't it? There, it's very polished on the
end. Stefan's a very quick driver in his own right, but he's prone to making the odd mistake, so hopefully we can see a better replay. That car was on, like you said, Liz, just done a 3:56, which is only a second off Fred Makowiecki's qualifying time. Yeah. I think very similar to the time that car did in qualifying. So, you know, Stefan pushing very hard, but a great shame. Those guys have worked their absolute nuts off with that car. It's proven to be very quick, and especially after the disaster that was last year, Aston Martin certainly making a name for themselves back at this year's Le Mans 24 Hours.
And I think another tricky bit of that corner in a GT car must be that as you come around the right-hander into the braking point, you've only got a few moments of straightness before you're braking, and it could be that he's just come through that little bit hot. I mean, like you say, we don't really know yet what's happening, but it could have been he just left the braking a little bit too long, locked them up. But God, he hit that wall at some speed. I hope he can get it back, but just a disaster for this team.
Yeah, it's dropped down to 3rd then. Fred Makowiecki's gone ahead of him already, and it's given Jimmy Bruni in the AF Corse Ferrari a whole lap advantage over him. That's going to be a lot to claw back over the next 8 hours. We're now up at the 2/3 point of the race. We will be in 17 minutes time. another third to go. And we've still got 5 Grand Prix to go once we get to that point.
Oh my gosh.
That's proper racing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 10, there's still 8 hours left or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
That's a long way.
But you made the point.
More than a 1,000k race.
Liz, you were making the point earlier on when we were with Chris and Neville about, Chris asked you about the magic hour, didn't you, this morning? And you said, you know, the magic hour is when you survive the night and you think, wow, but then the next thought you have is, hey, but I've got a whole day to go still.
Yeah, exactly. It is a really nice time at Le Mans, and just sort of coming through some of the fog and where the sun comes up, and watching that come up from inside of the car is very, very special. But there is a very long way to go still, and oh, look at all that gravel on the racing line. This is going to make things very tricky. I hope we don't see any other cars going off as they come piling into some of that debris.
Yeah, you talked about the magic hour this morning, and Johnny Molam last night, as we're getting into dusk, was talking about the happy hour. And there's quite an interesting distinction. It's nothing to do with 2 drinks the price of one. It's the time the track starts to come to after a long hot afternoon, which we had yesterday. Don't forget as well, yesterday morning it was all doom and gloom, wasn't it? We had appalling weather for the warm-up and for the support races, but by the time we got the main event at 3 o'clock, beautiful day, and we got it again today. Look at the conditions.
Not a cloud in the sky at this time, might I say, and very, very lucky. I'm sure everybody was praying that this would be the Le Mans conditions that they got, and someone up there has delivered.
Looking out of the window, the only cloud I can see is right over the Pescarolo pit, but
Stefan Mucker back on his way, not completely up to speed, but that car looks like it's pretty much intact. Took a big hit, so like I say, I'll be coming into the pits. But one thing in Stefan's defence, they were struggling with brake problems earlier on in the race, so could that be a factor now? We don't know. I've had previous experience of this car. It does use its brakes a little bit more than say a Ferrari would, so it may be an issue, or it may just be Stefan pushing a little bit too hard, trying to get back on terms with Jimmy Bruni. But that car looks like it's all intact. I'm sure the AMR guys will give it the once over, stick a new set of tyres on it, and if they can get it straight back into the race, they will, because he won't have lost too much time. And like you say, Liz, we've got 8 hours 14 minutes left, so there's still everything to play for.
I'll say a bit of a credit to the Aston Martin itself, because that car really doesn't look that bad, and that was a big hit. I mean, it went in some serious pace, and it looks like it's missing a bit of glass from the right wing mirror, which I could see as it was coming into pit lane, but not a lot beyond that. So like you say, Stuart, I'm sure they're going to take their time to look at that and make sure that nothing's been bent or there's no real damage there. But hopefully he's gotten away with that, and perhaps it has been a braking problem. Maybe the front or rear are overheating a little bit too much and there's some imbalance there, but we'll hopefully get an interview from one of the guys and see if we can find out.
But that does mean that the Ferrari's going to put that car down a lap, and obviously Frederick Makowiecki's gone past, so it's a Ferrari 1-2 in GT, and could be 1-2-3, because Marco Cocchi in the other AF course car is gonna pass Stefan in probably a lap's time, I think.
Yeah, we did have a shot, didn't we, at the Corvette garages, looking quite happy about things. Their car's obviously some way down in the class still, but that could come back to them yet.
And look at this 51 car. This is the fairy tale they were hoping for, and if they can hold it together for 8 more hours, then it might just come to them.
Those of you who stayed awake during our qualifying on Wednesday night, remember this car was crashed heavily by Giancarlo Fisichella, new shell brought out from Italy, and that car was turned into a race car again in 9 hours on Thursday.
Full credit to that team for the hard work they put in. And those boys are hopefully going to be working very hard to keep it on the track. I'm sure they will. They've not had a very good season, a lot of accidents in the season.
Yep.
But hopefully can just keep their head in the game and keep it going around.
It's a strong team, and Amate Ferrari, does run a tight ship there, and I think they are the Ferrari's favoured team. Although Luxury Racing, of course, this year is starting to challenge for that mantle.
Yeah, they are. I mean, there's such strong teams in the GTE categories, both of them really. As we're heading off to a commercial break, just as the 97 car gets pushed into the garage to be looked over. Stay with us at Le Mans, and we'll have more information for you about that car very, very soon. It's
Sunday morning. It's nearly 7 o'clock here in France. We're at Le Mans, and where else would you be in the middle of June as we approach Midsummer's Day? Beautiful weather here this morning. All is well for Audi. 1, 2, 3 at the moment, with the other car, their 4th car, in 5th place. Completely different story for Toyota, who came here at very short notice, put on a fantastic show to briefly lead the race at one stage, but both those cars sadly out now. One of them crashed, the other just eventually too damaged and no longer walking wounded, but mortally wounded, and eventually retired. In P2, the story is Honda, HPD. In GT, the story is Ferrari 1 and 2, and in AM, GT AM, it is at the moment Porsche fighting with Corvette, as it has been for much of the race. And here we are. Here is that Corvette in 2nd place. This is the Labra car of Patrick Bornhauser on track, chasing down Nico Armando in the IMSA Matmut Porsche, and those cars on the same lap.
Oh, and here we go. Is this the 51 car?
It's 59 car. That's very
I was worried I jinxed it. But no, he was going very fast indeed on that tyre. I hope he's going to slow down quite soon, or we could see some serious bodywork damage.
Yeah, the 59 car at the moment is, where is it in?
Second in GT Pro. That's Frederick Makowiecki at the wheel.
Which has just moved ahead of the Aston Martin after its ill fortune. So
problem punches are will start to become a little bit more regular, because there's a lot of debris and a lot of, you know, all sorts of sharp objects now off the racing line. And if you get forced off the racing line by a prototype in a GT car, you know, the likelihood of a puncture is very, very high. So different risks in different parts of the races, as we see Frederick Makowiecki coming past us right now.
It looks like he got quite lucky and had that puncture late on, and the irony of it is it may have even been the gravel left on the track by the Aston Martin, of which they then overtook, that caused his puncture.
Yeah, this is not planned, of course, by Aston Martin, but it has helped a little bit.
Well, it's been very, very lucky for this car to, in fact, have not been too far along. You know, they were quite a ways along the track before this, so he didn't have to do an entire lap of 8 miles with a puncture.
And just to remind you, this is not the same team as the leading Ferrari. The leading Ferrari AF Corsa. This is luxury racing. A team that's really come up through Euro GT, Italian GT, and starting to make itself known internationally now. Again, an Italian team, and so what colour would you have for Ferrari other than red?
Well, obviously bright green or yellow seems to be some other options in this race, but certainly I always prefer the red, to be honest.
Frederick Makowiecki actually went to get out of that car and was told get back straight back in. So you know, obviously doing a good job, and they want to keep him in the car. They're hot on the heels of Jimmy Bruni, running a similar pace. Now he's got a fresh set of boots on it, and
Stefan Muka straight back out in that Aston Martin, and straight away, oh well, he had just done a fast section time. I thought they put it back out already. I was going to say that's amazing.
That was on the lap he crashed.
My God, yeah. Thought that was a new record.
Just a replay of that rear tire. Of course, the one thing you have to do is try and get it back without ruining the suspension and bodywork, and he only just made it, didn't he?
It's just starting to pull the back of that car off, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was talking about luxury racing as being Italian. Of course, they're not. They're French. It's Christopher Campbell who runs the team out of France.
Magnico, I believe they're based.
Yeah, Magnico. That's the word I was struggling for.
That's that well-known Italian village.
Yes, a mountaintop village, yes, in the middle of France. So, race continues to unfold. 247 laps. Our lead Audi, 246 laps for the 2nd place, 245 for the 3rd place. So at the moment, given no more problems for Andre Lotterer, and the only problem they do appear to have had throughout the race so far was that high-speed spin in the Porsche curves, which you don't always walk away from, do you, Liz?
No, that was very, very lucky indeed, and they've clearly managed to claw their way back and doing really competitive times at the moment, and he's clearly trying to take a bit more of a gap away from Dindo Capello at the moment.
And that was in the dark, of course, that spin, and Andre's still on board the car, so, as you said, quadruple stinting. Last year, he ran 5 stints. Of course, the one thing is, you cannot do more than 4 hours in any 6 hours, so if you go over that 4 hours, is the car disqualified, or is it penalised? How does it work?
I'm not sure.
I think it's disqualified.
All I know is that that's what we were planning on doing. It was 4 stints.
Yeah, but so what Audi did, they squeezed 5 stints into 4 hours. Obviously, they brought him in slightly early. And anyway, so that's the race continues to unfold. P2 being led by Potolici, GT by Jimmy Bruni, and AM at this moment by Nico Armindo. So they've still got 41 runners. Manassi in that dome posted as the last of those still running at the moment. He is in the pits though. We have seen shots of the dome in the Pescarolo pit as they continue to try and work on that car. Stuart, just going back to Thursday night, so Giara crashed that car in the Porsche Curse. Was there a massive amount of damage?
It was a fairly big hit. He just caught the curb going through the second left-hander. It was slightly, so, as Johnny Molan was touching earlier, in these coupes, it's very, very difficult to see out. And if you just turn in fractionally too early, you can clip a curb, especially in the Porsche curve, and the car is very, very fast. You're doing 160, 170 mile an hour. It just clipped the curb, and it just turned him around. And he luckily grazed the wall. It did enough. It did quite a bit of superficial damage, but luckily, because he just grazed the wall, it was only superficial and didn't damage the tub. But the biggest problem they've had with the dome is they had a big problem with locking rear brakes. So what they did was they put smaller rear brakes on the rear just so because the rear brakes were locking, they put smaller ones on the rear, so the stopping power was slightly less, and that stopped the rear brakes locking and actually made the car easy to drive. But because he took the hit, he actually damaged the upright that the rear brakes were on, so they had to change both the rear brakes back to the bigger rear brakes. That meant the car now, although not out, is much more difficult to drive because the rears are locking. And what I mean by rear brakes locking is you hit the brake pedal at 200 mile an hour and the rear wheels lock, which is effectively why Jean-Christophe Bouillon crashed our car on Wednesday evening. So it's very dangerous indeed, and could lead to a car having a big accident.
Now, Johnny Molan was making the point last night about these dorsal fins on the cars. They're obviously part of the plan to stop cars flipping if they get sideways. We've got the further innovation of having large holes now on top of the wings. But Johnny made the point, he said if a car does get sideways, this dorsal fin can sometimes act as a rudder. Even if the car stays flat on the ground, it can actually turn the car maybe sideways into a wall.
Oh no, it does make the car a little bit more unstable. And I think, with any car, what happened to Ant Davidson when he touched the Ferrari, the car actually touched the curb on the right hand side, what actually gave the car a little bit of lift, and that's when the car took off. So I don't think people should jump on the bandwagon too much about cars taking off. Yes, it does need to be looked at, but that car was at 200 mile an hour when it took off, and I don't think you keep most things on the ground at 200 mile an hour when they go sideways and wind goes up, and let alone a car that's nice and light and a prototype that's designed to go fast. The one good thing about it is that whilst poor old Ant's lying in hospital now, with a few broken bones, it could have been much worse, and it goes to show the safety of the cars. The Ant and the Ferrari, effectively they're both okay, and a few years ago they might not have been. And it just goes to testament of how strongly these cars are now built.
Very good point.
I absolutely agree, and we talked about that earlier. The car was surprisingly still intact after that accident as well, and after last year with the Audi, very, very impressive.
Side-by-side stuff then down into Mulsanne corner. No, sorry, one of the chicanes.
First chicane, that is.
Yeah, first chicane. Now named Forza Motorsport chicane.
That is the Jota car along with the Starworks Motorsport car, I believe.
Yeah, Jota winner at Spa, of course. Great effort by them.
Just touching back on Ant's incident now, my theory, if he's got a couple of broken bones, notably a broken vertebrae, the most likely cause of that broken vertebrae wouldn't be the impact with the wall, it would have been coming down, because in these prototypes you're effectively sitting on the floor. You get so low in the car, you try and get the centre of gravity as low as possible, and so when you do take off like that, you're just landing on a concrete surface, and the shock of you landing on the concrete surface is enough to
stress has got to go somewhere, doesn't it?
Get this compression. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you, Stuart, and I know a few other racing drivers that have had very similar injuries, and it's always been from going up in the air and coming down rather than actually impacting the wall. He probably would have been better off just flipping lower on the ground, but he was so high. Right,
this is what happened earlier with the Romain Dumas accident yesterday afternoon. He got wide, trying to pass a Ferrari on the outside, furiously ripping off the bodywork, and that right-hand front corner already damaged. This is what Stuart's just been talking about, Anthony Davidson. What a huge
Way
impact.
up in the
Bang,
air.
that's where it
Oh.
came down. What a compression there.
So it was a big, you know, hit on the floor. And a prime example, as Jeremy just said, Justin Wilson, British Champ Car driver, IndyCar driver. You know, that car, he was Champ Car session last year. Car popped up in the air, landed. No biggie. It broke his back because he was sitting on the floor.
Yeah, we're still looking at the highlights. This is some of the action during the night, and before that, of course, the Delta Wing had been knocked off the track by one of the Toyotas. This is the point after which André Lotterer lost the lead but for a while, having spun at high speed in the Porsche curves. Fortunately, about hitting anything, it took him 2 hours to claw that back, but he is leading again now. Not only is he leading, but he's got 1 lap advantage over Dindo Capello, and that is despite an extra pit stop over Dindo Capello. He's on 22 stops, Dindo on 21, yet Lotterer has a 1 lap advantage. Liz?
I think we're just watching one of the Corvettes in the night. This is something we didn't see because we weren't here at that point, but
the wheel coming off Richard Westbrook's Corvette and just coming out of Dunlop.
This is the start of Corvette's troubles, wasn't it? It's
yeah,
gone
coming out of the
downhill
pit,
a bit.
sorry.
Yeah, this is probably the last we're going to see of the number 7 car. In and out of the pits a lot, and yeah, that's it. Well done, everybody. But I think Toyota have to be congratulated on a fantastic performance. The shutters come down, and that's the end of Toyota for this year. But they've got 3 years now, the program, and it takes you 3 years to win Le Mans.
and they did very, very well on their first outing, and both cars really coming out with an accident. So who knows how long they would have gone if they'd stayed out of trouble.
There was a collision with one of the Labra Corvettes there, the prototype we were riding. Was it the number 3 car?
Not Dumas again, was it? Bit of a bold move as well, trying to overtake at that part of the, especially offline as well.
Just coming through the Ford chicanes, yep, was it? So Dumas, his car, the number 3 car, which currently is in the hands of Marc Genet, but during the night having to have a new rear body panel put on.
Oh,
Exciting.
see all the excitement happen when we were away, Mark.
Yeah, I think we'll stay up in future.
Looks to me like Simon Dolan having a spin in the Jota Zytek.
Getting quite lucky.
Down at La Chapelle. And again, is this André Lotterer then we're looking at? Could well be.
Just the right-hander of the Porsche curve, just going a little bit wide and dropping it.
Oh, very lucky there, wasn't he? So lucky to not have a big one.
Yeah, so that's the moment that André Lotterer lost the lead to Alan McNish. Got it back there.
Yeah. Yeah, just touched the wall. So lucky there.
You do need the luck though.
Yeah.
when it's right going your way, it goes your way, and obviously it went André's way.
Big hit there for.
That's a Pro Speed Porsche with.
Yeah, that's the first time we've seen that image of it there, isn't it?
Is it Abdulaziz Al-Faiz?
It was Prince Abdullah. Yeah, he's had a lot of off-track excursions.
Teammate with Britain, Sean Edwards, and Sean doing a fantastic job. He's making his debut at Le Mans, and very, very excited about the experience, and actually doing a very good job. Fantastically quick in qualifying. I think he qualified the car second in GTM, so big shout out to him, doing a great job.
Another driver like you, Liz, and Alexander Brundle, who've been mentored by his father, Guy, one of the mainstays of Le Mans. That's the positions at this moment. 250th lap, that lead car is on. André Lotterer, lucky to survive that night incident. There in 8th place is our P2 leader, and that is still the Starworks Honda of Potiliccio. And then just further down, look at that, 19th and 20th, that battle for GT, although just split up after the Aston Martin spin by Stefan Mucker at Indianapolis. And there in the orange, that's the Chevrolet Corvette of Patrick Bornhauser. At this moment, just got back ahead, hasn't he, of Raymond Narak on board that car now. Raymond's just climbed on board, so there's a pit stop, and he's probably got 1 pit stop over him.
And really not very far away from that car at all now. They're really bunching up on the same lap as well.
Well, we're going to take a break, and a long way to go yet. You're with me, Mark Cole, Liz Halliday, and Stuart Hall. Back after these messages. Welcome back to Eurosport. It is now just past 7 o'clock in the morning. We still have 8 hours of racing almost to go. Beautiful morning here, Sunday, June the 17th here in central France. and Audi 1, 2, 3. So everything looking very good in the Four Rings pits there. In HPD, leading P2 with Potoliccio on board the Starworks car at the moment. It's Giancarlo Fisichella, a fairy tale for AF Corse Ferrari, having wrecked that car on Wednesday night. Fisichella now leads the race in Pro. Who would have forecast that, having seen the impact he had? And Patrick Bornhauser for Labra Corvette is leading the Pro Am class. Jeremy Shaw's joined us, and Jeremy looking very fresh, and obviously had a good night's sleep, although I know you were actually working in the pits quite a lot.
Yeah, I had I think a couple of hours now, so feel certain, and a shower. I think that was the important thing.
That's the main thing.
Yeah. I don't need to impress myself or anybody else. I don't need to stay up for 24 hours. That'd be silly.
Well, let's ask.
I'm not 20 years old anymore, unfortunately.
Okay, well, we won't ask you to impress us, but what has impressed you during the night, Jeremy?
During the night, I mean, obviously, the Toyota is a big story for me. What a fantastic job they did. All of the drivers and the team and the technical guys, just a remarkable effort. Overnight, well, not much has happened actually since I left. I just heard about the spin that Andre Lotterer had. That's very interesting indeed. It looked from that on, but that's the first time I'd seen it. First time I didn't realise it had happened, because the gap between the number 1 and number 2 car was about the same as it was when I left here at about 3 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't realise that there'd been that sort of shuffling around in the middle. That was fascinating.
It was just a blip in the Audi plan.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he's managed to get that lead back again, Lotterer, and he's been turning some sensationally fast laps. I saw a 3:26 about 4 or 5 laps ago. He's just done a 3:27 flat. 3 minutes 27.000. I mean, stunning lap times that Andre Lotterer is turning in that car. He made a slightly earlier than scheduled pit stop about probably 20 minutes ago, when he was sort of 2 or 3 laps from the end of what should have been the end of his stint. He came in early, and that was when he was turning these blinding laps. He came in to change tyres, and off he went again. So whether he felt some sort of a vibration, or I don't know what the problem was. It obviously certainly wasn't anything major, because he got right back out there and again turning these blistering laps and extending his lead over that number 2 car.
Yeah, Liz Halliday told us about the magic hour this morning, where the track starts to come back to you.
Yeah, no, this is the time of day that the cars start going a lot faster. It's very, very cool outside, which is probably a big part of it. Everybody's quite comfortable on the circuit now. There's a few less cars as well, so less traffic to deal with, especially for the prototype cars. You'll see that makes a difference, and it's very well rubbered in now. We're going, I mean, the one drawback, however, is that you are starting to get more debris on the circuit and on the sides of the circuit. So going offline to pass other cars means you're collecting pickup on the tires. That's rubber pickup, and also risking a puncture from some of the gravel that's been spread around. And here we are just saying that the cars are going faster in the number 3, well, not the number 3, number 26, but in 3rd place. Panciotisi has just done a fastest Sector 1 time. So, and we've seen that from quite a few of the cars at the moment.
Yeah, still a great battle going on there in P2. It is the Starworks car that still leads, as it has done for quite a long time. A gap, I think it's a little bit less than a lap to Pierre Caffer. Yet more problems from the Pescarolo Dome. Boy, they've battled hard, haven't they?
Well, I think they're about to come back out again after being in the garage for a long period of time. Working away, I'm not entirely sure what the problems were there, but certainly it's nice to see them getting back out again and still running in the daylight after the real shame with Stuart Hall's car.
So out comes the Dome. Stuart telling us about their travails in qualifying when Sergio had that accident. The car has been in and out of the pits a lot. They've got it back out again now after a lengthy time. Another car in the pits at the moment, Andrea Bellicci in the 13 Rebellion Lola. They're just in was for routine service because he's just left, and Mike Rockenfeller has also just pitted and left again. So everything on schedule for those teams as we watch Pescarolo pit talking to their driver out in the circuit.
Richard Davila there, or Ricardo Davila, depending on which who you're talking to. He's been around this sport a long time. Super guy, and he's also been working with the Nissan Delta Wing program. Actually, he does a lot of work with Nissan. but he's also taken on the race engineer job there with the Team Pescarolo to run that dome chassis.
Jeremy, you talked about Toyota, what a great job they did, which we all agree with. Let's also have a shout for the Nissan Delta Wing, and what a brave attempt that was.
Yeah, you know, the car was running nice. I don't know what its best lap was. I'm just disappointed that on the final session of qualifying on Thursday night, they didn't go for it and try and lay down a lap. And it's funny, I was talking to Ray Malik about that yesterday morning. Ray doesn't really have anything to do with running the team, but RML does. It's a collaborative effort with Highcroft Racing in the United States. Well, actually, I don't think there's any Highcroft people actually on that team at the moment. They're all English mechanics. But I was asking Rayner, why didn't they go for a run on Thursday night? He said, well, first of all, they needed to make sure all the drivers qualified because they'd had the problem the previous night after an off that they suffered down at Tertre Rouge. And then they just decided to just concentrate on the race preparation. I said, well, you know, you knew you were going to have reliability problems, or you reckoned you were going to have reliability problems coming into the race, so the chances of running all the way through without any major difficulties were slim to not very many. So why not go for it? So I said, why not go for it? He said, well, because we didn't want to lay down a lap and then qualify sort of well up amongst the cars in P2 or even ahead of them, conceivably, and then get into their race pace and fall back through the pack. And it'd be kind of disappointing after that. To which I said, well, if you could have set your lap and then you could have started from the pit lane. If you weren't confident in the car running, you're not classified, you're not going for anything other than kind of pride. So why not start from the pit lane, then you can work your way back up through the field again. And he said, that's a good point, Jeremy, actually. You should have been maybe you should have been in the last strategy meeting.
Well, you got a job next year if they come back. We talked to Marino Franchitti last night about the programme. He hopes they'll be back. Of course, they won't have the 56 garage next year. That's been given to the Green GT programme, which we haven't actually touched on. We'll talk about that later. But, I mean, of course, one thing is that the Delta Wing, as you said, we'll never know if it's going to survive the race or not. So,
well, they'd already had various niggling little things, hadn't they? And quite a few of them too.
Could have been there, but this
could have made the finish
in an unfortunate way. Answered the question, but that ended the programme there and then.
We sort of had three different cars that were like that, both of the Toyotas and the Delta Wing. In fact, well, the last Toyota taking out the Delta Wing, ironically, but it would have been lovely to see where they could have all finished just on attrition without the accident. And I actually think Toyota would have gone much further than any of us predicted, perhaps further than they themselves predicted. And I'm sure that's been a real downer for that team to not really know what they could have done.
Yeah, it was an engine failure, wasn't it, that finally put out the number 7 car.
Yes.
That's of course totally unexpected, but I think they're still thrilled with the way. I was there, early hours, and soon after the number 7 car retired, and all the Toyota guys are all huddled around.
Yeah, we just
chattering with each other. And
we just saw at the highlights. Quite a lot of tears there as well.
Oh yeah.
Tears of relief, perhaps. That, the ordeal was over. But we just touched on the Nissan Delta Wing. What was the ACO's 56 garage choice this year? Next year, it's going to be the Green GT, and this is a hydrogen-fueled car. This is going to be a really, really impressive programme. We'll talk more about it because we're going to take a short break, but this is an absolutely wacky design. Not quite as wacky, though, as the Nissan Delta Wing. We're back in a moment. Good morning, Britain. Good morning, Europe. Good morning, good afternoon, Singapore, Hong Kong, and good evening, Australia. Here we
New
are
Zealand.
at Le Mans and New Zealand. Yes, of course. Little problem down there. Couldn't quite catch who that was. Just picking the car up.
It is the Jota car.
It's the Jota car, one of the Britain's finest there.
Spreading gravel across the circuit as it goes in its wake.
This is our Spa 6 Hours winner in LMP2 just a few weeks ago. A surprise win as well for a car that was a late entry, and there we are. That's where he just...
Sam Hancock at the wheel, actually, in the 38 car. It looks like he's just had a little off in the braking zone there and gotten quite lucky not to hit the wall.
Yeah, drove himself out of trouble. Of course, he did hit the wall on Thursday night, didn't he? Right in front of us.
That was quite a big hit as well.
Yeah. Just before the break, we were just touching on what next year's 56 garage is going to be. And this is the rolling programme the ACO has of having an innovative car every year, something different. It won't be running for the race win or for points or anything, but it's there as a demonstration. And the Green GT is a hybrid that's quite extraordinary car. It's being developed by the French, and it's hydrogen cell fueled and has twin 200 kilowatt electric motors, which equate to about 540 brake horsepower. I think the strangest thing is the car is 5 meters long and it weighs 1,200 kilos. A lot of that weight comes from the hydrogen tanks, Jeremy. 80 kilos for each of 2 hydrogen tanks.
Yeah, there's been various hydrogen, or the potential for some hydrogen cars to be out here over the last 10 years or so. They've been talking about it, and for various reasons they've never actually materialized, and that's one of them, because because it's the same sort of thing as the batteries that are required if you were running a hybrid system. That's why the Toyota was running supercapacitors, and talking about Pascal Vasselon, the technical director of that Toyota program, a couple of days ago, and he was telling me that ultimately they think they will be using batteries to store the energy for their hybrid system. But right now, the batteries, the technology of the batteries isn't quite advanced. So I mean, they've made huge advances over the last 4 or 5 years in particular, but the supercapacitor option is still better for them at this stage. But he envisages the Toyota program using batteries within the next year or two, I believe.
Yeah, well, the car's being built very locally by WR, of course.
Yes.
Welter Racing, that's Gerard and Welter and Rachel Welter, and they of course have produced some very strange cars over the years. Particularly there's one-piece body cars that used to race here. They got banned, unfortunately, after the sad death of Sebastian Enjolras in 2007, when the bodywork flew off and he was killed on the test day. That was the end of that. But WR still been coming back and forward. Peugeot powered quite often, but this one, as we say, hydrogen fueled. And the car it's got a sort of hammerhead shark front to it, and it reminds me of the STP Marches that used to have those T-trays on the front as front wings, but it's got this massive air intake behind the driver, and I think the engine's running, the driver's at a risk of being sucked in if he's unbolted.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting looking car. I'm going to be impressed if it's here and it's ready to go, really, and all power to them. I think it's great.
Shaking heads in the cabin. I'm not going to say who, but Christian Pescatore.
It's not me. There we go. That's it.
Christian Pescatore
with us as well.
Christian Pescatore, who's probably the shortest Italian racing driver ever, used to race a lot, of course, in the Ferrari 444 SP programs, and 333, yeah. Sorry, I'm talking about the hydrogen.
You're getting way ahead of yourself.
Yeah, way ahead, yes. I'm looking to the future. It's the car 333 SP, yes, which of course was run by JMB with great success in the international sports prototype series John Mangaletzi used to run. Christian Pescatore has been charged with developing this car, and as you say, will we see it or won't we? That 56 garage is still open, but that is what the ACO say will be next year's.
I suppose they've got a year to do it, right?
They've got a year to do it.
They did announce the Delta Wing last year, and they managed to pull it off. So
here's the Porsche curbs going past White House over the bridge. Great shot, Liz, here of the trickiest part of the track.
Yeah, it's amazing to have these helicopter cams. They're so fantastic. You can just see the Bugatti circuit as well as the karting circuit on the inside there, the Alain Prost karting circuit off to the right. It's such a big complex here. Le Mans is not just the circuit. There's a lot that goes into this. 275,000 people are pretty much normal for being here, and they've all got to come from somewhere, and so many campers. It really is quite the production, this event.
Great gaggle of cars, and the Helicam is following at the moment. Only LMP2 cars side by side up the hill into Dunlop.
We've had a lot of questions on Twitter about why there are no BMW cars here this year, and we saw 2 last year, and it's primarily because it's just not part of their focus this year, I think, and apparently, Jeremy, you can tell us more about that.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, Liz. That's for the last 5 years or so, they've been concentrating first of all on the World Touring Car Championship, then on GTE. They won the American Le Mans Series last year. And then for years and years they've been talking about trying to be persuaded to rejoin the DTM, and the decision was made that was going to be their primary focus for this year, last year, and so they've put the bulk of their resources into running that DTM program. It's a massive undertaking, brand new car, completely ground up car. It has a worldwide coverage, as does sports car racing, and they've won just about everything that they could win over here. They won Le Mans here last year, didn't they, as well? So, mission accomplished there. Let's move on to the next thing.
And DTM so far been quite successful for them. So.
And then don't forget, Nürburgring 24 Hours also looms very large in their program. obviously all concentrated on the Z4 model now rather than the touring car side. But you just said DTM gets worldwide coverage, not in Britain, Jeremy, which is very strange because you know we have
with the racer
a lot of British drivers, and it's just not available to, well, certainly to any of the non-pay channels, which is a great shame. And Eurosport would love to show it, of course. But
yeah, it's available in the States only. I think not. It used to be that the highlights were shown at the end of the season or over the off season. I think this year might be different actually, perhaps on the Speed Channel, but it certainly doesn't get mainstream coverage in the United States either.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great shame. We've got a number of British drivers racing,
yes,
including Susie Stoddart, or Susie Wolff as she now is, and she's getting a lot of publicity, of course, because she's been popped into the Williams test program.
Yeah, which is fantastic to see her. They're very well deserved. Yeah, Susie is a really good driver, had a lot of F3 experience before the DTM, and has been in DTM for many years now, and really a tough driver, and I've just got a lot of time and respect for her, really.
She is quick. I mean, the fact that she's married to Toto Wolff, who's a partner in Williams, might have something to do with it. But that's kind of a facetious comment, because she is very talented. And if you look at the grids in DTM, I mean, pretty much the whole grid is covered by a second, and she is far from the back of the field. I mean, she's right in the middle of the pack. Regularly scores points on, you know, a remarkable effort that she puts forth in the DTM. Well deserved, and it's great. It's great, I think, to have a lady being, you know, given an opportunity in Formula One. There's several females in the States who got, you know, at the top of the sport in various different series, and for some reason or another it hasn't happened in Formula One. There's a couple of girls in the States certainly who are you know, quick enough certainly to at least have an opportunity, as has Susie, perhaps as a test driver or some sort of role in Formula One. I'm thinking particularly Simona De Silvestro from Switzerland, Catherine Legg from the UK, and you know, they are very talented drivers. I know Catherine came over and she did the DTM ironically a few years ago, but she was kind of with Audi, that was, and she certainly didn't have the best equipment and just kind of struggled there, but she'd shown beforehand that she could drive, and Simona, I tell you what, she's got a great attitude, she's got a fantastic work ethic, as has Catherine, and they are very good racing drivers.
And just look at the car that's running in third place at the moment. Mike Rockenfeller, Ollie Jarvis, both DTM drivers.
Yeah, well, I know Audi has got a very comprehensive program with DTM, and actually one of their requirements they had for many years was before you came onto the prototype program you had to drive in DTM. I know because I had a meeting with them myself many years ago, and that was the way it worked. You went to DTM and then you merged into the prototypes, and if you look at virtually all of these drivers except for the ones that have been drafted in from elsewhere, they've all done DTM or are currently doing it.
Excellent. So it's Audi 1, 2, 3 at the top. The best of the petrol runners, Nico Prost on board the Rebellion Lola at the moment. Of course, they, like a lot of the Lola teams, a little bit concerned about what's going to happen to the company. The company in Huntingdon at the moment is administration. They are looking for buyers, and I can't imagine, Jeremy, that anyone would let a brand like Lola just disappear. There's so much at stake here.
Yeah, absolutely right. The only problem there, of course, is the debt that comes with the company. That's the issue. Yeah, you know, there's such a history there, and Martin Bahrain, he's put his heart and soul into that company. He was a Lola customer for many years. He took over the company, what was it, 15 years ago, possibly
97, now? Yeah, when Eric Broadley dabbled in Formula One.
Yeah, shortly after that, when he got into difficulties then, and he took it over and he made a massive investment in himself, did Martin Bahrain, and for some reason things have gone astray, I was hugely surprised to hear that. It was only a couple of months ago, wasn't it, that news came out, because they're diversified into the aviation industry, in the aerospace industry, and in the defense industry as well. And you know, they've got a lot of different programs, all sorts of interesting projects they've got going on there, and I was shocked to hear that they got into themselves
the parent company Lola Group Holdings is safe. It's Lola Cars and Lola Composites that the two companies in trouble, and the reason the company put out was because they were not getting the tax credits from the government that they were promised. There's an issue about whether a small company or a large company, things like this, but at the end of the day they are in administration, and let's just hope someone out there is going to pick up the baton and run with it, because Lola is such an iconic brand, and so many cars here this weekend.
Well, I mean, they've been around forever in motorsport. It's definitely my favorite car that I've ever driven was a Lola, and a wonderful car we drove here at Le Mans for 2 years, and I really hope that they can pull it together. And just having a look
our race leader.
Yeah, our race leader and the engineer. They're sitting there staring at all the screens. It's just looking back at some of the action we've had here. You can see that gravel flying off Sam Hancock's car after a trip through some great slow motion footage that we have on Eurosport this year. Such an exciting race this is turning out to be, and so many hours left to go.
Yeah, and we just did actually see on the pit wall a shot of Lena Gade, who the girl from Harrow who engineered their win last year. She's running the car again this year, and she could be online for a double along with her crew.
We really hope so. Stay with us soon. We're just looking at the number 3 Audi. We'll be back with you at Le Mans for more action.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage of the 80th 24 Hours of Le Mans. Jeremy Shaw with Mark Cole and Liz Halliday. Haven't missed much while we've been away. It's still Andre Lotterer, who's completed 257 laps now in the lead number 1 Audi R18 e-tron Quattro, the hybrid powered car. And he's about a couple of minutes ahead of Dindo Capello, who's currently at the wheel, car number 2, the sister car, identical car. That, as I speak, just comes into the pits. I think that's probably about time for routine service. A gap between those cars, yeah, about a minute and 15 seconds before you draw that car onto the pit lane.
Now, Jeremy, the cars that are out front, 1 and 2, they are both obviously the hybrid cars, and as in comes the number 2 car. This is obviously what Audi would most like, would to have these cars finish in that order, the hybrids ahead of the ultras, because that is what they're promoting. That's the technology. They're not up against anyone else now, so there's no question of team orders. There's no team orders we had last year. They were just told to go for it, but this year, can you imagine there will be words from Ralf Juttner saying, right guys, we're happy as we are, just don't push it.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure they've been told, you know, just don't bin it, basically. They're under no pressure. So from anybody else, it's only themselves. And, you know, you don't doubt that Tom Christensen, who's just getting into this car now, the car number 2, and Dindo Capello, whose birthday it is today, incidentally. So happy birthday, Dindo.
48,
and, yep. And Alan McNish, you know, starts the race at the age 47, ends up at 48. It is an aging experience here at Le Mans, no doubt about that. But Alan McNish, you know, they are seeking another victory here, and you know, they're going to be pushing hard.
Yeah.
So, ooh, there's a shot at one of the Ferraris getting very sideways, as we've seen a number of times. But, you know, there's going to be a battle between those two cars. They've exchanged positions a couple of times already this morning into the second half of the race. And but there is to see, you know, how that plays out, and whether there are any orders there. There's rumours this might be Dindo Capello's final Le Mans. He still hasn't, I don't think, actually officially said that. I think people are putting words into his mouth, perhaps. But you know, he's as you say, 48 years old now. He's won this race 3 times already. Alan McNish has won it twice. Tom Christensen, the most successful driver ever here, 8 wins to his name. And each of those guys is very, 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 very keen to add another victory at the Le Mans 24 Hours. So they are going to be pushing hard for the win. But as we've seen right from the beginning of the week, Andre Lotterer in particular in that number 1 car, he has been super fast. Qualified on the pole, set fastest lap of the race way back on lap 5 at a 3 minutes 26.3, and several times within the last hour he's been in the 3 minutes 26 bracket as well. Stunningly fast.
Yeah, there is 1 lap between each of the 3 leading cars. It is in the pit stop cycle at the moment, but just before Christensen stopped, then it was 2.58, 2.57, 2.57, 2.56, 2.55. So that'll settle down again, and perhaps that's the way Audi want to keep it. Why try and claw back a lap when you don't need to?
Yeah, they're not really worried about the number 4 car. As you said quite rightly, I think a few minutes ago, you know, their primary focus is the new technology, the latest technology, the hybrid cars that are currently running 1 and 2 with the electric motors on driving those front wheels. They pick up the energy under braking. They store it in a flywheel that runs alongside the drivers in the cockpit of the car, and then that the power from that flywheel is channeled back into an electric motor that drives the front wheels and gives them that quattro power, that four-wheel drive power effectively into the front wheels coming off the corners. That is the technology that they are promoting, and those are the cars they want to win the race. I think for the big brass, they probably don't really care who sets, which of the cars wins the race, but certainly there's a lot of pride amongst those drivers. And as I was talking about Lotterer having set the fastest lap, I'm going to have to change that because Loïc Duval, in car number 3, has just done a 3:25.671, which is the new fastest lap of the race. That is in car number 3, running in 5th place overall, and he's just that is one of the R18 Ultras, the non-hybrid cars, so the standard cars, if you like. That was the car that Romain Dumas put off the road yesterday evening. He had an incident at the chicane on the Mulsanne, second chicane, I think, wasn't it? And
no, first chicane. First chicane.
Yeah. And he put that car off the road. I haven't spoken to him to find out exactly why he did that, but he ran off wide and hit the barriers, and we saw it earlier on in a replay. Extensive damage to that right front corner, but he was able to rip off the bodywork, get it back to the pits, and even with that long delay, having got out of the car, ripped off the bodywork and driven it back, and changing that entire front right corner, they lost only 8 laps, which is absolutely unbelievable in my book.
No, so fast, and you can tell that Loïc Duval is the one who's trying to claw back some places, so he's the one who's got to put in the times. I think the others are a little bit safer, and they can just knock a couple seconds off to make sure they don't make any mistakes, but Loïc Duval is going to have to push very hard if he wants to get in front of Nicolas Prost.
And in setting that fastest time of the race so far, he actually set that time in the 3rd sector, which is largely through the Porsche curves. That's where Audi were gaining a second over Peugeot last year, but remember, that's in the Ultra, so he hasn't got the advantage of the extra weight over the front wheels, which you were highlighting yesterday, giving those cars so much grip through Porsche curves.
Yeah, just as they come away from sort of the braking points and stuff, they've got that little bit more grip. I think when you're in the tight corner, I mean in the big sweeping fast corners, the cars are probably fairly similar, but they just both have a lot of grip, to be fair. The Audis are very good in the high-speed corners. They've dialed down their aero absolutely to the max, and I think they've now, at this point in the race, found a point where they've got their tires sorted out. I know early on Alan was saying they were struggling a little bit with the tires when the track was green, but certainly by now they will have their setup figured out. They'll have the compound they're happy with, and this is where it's all coming into the sweet spot.
There's another comeback like Lazarus in 11th place. Johnny Kane on board the Stracker HPD. It's the last of the P1 runners at the moment, but that car, remember, lost I think 11 laps on the petrol leading Rebellion Lolas right at the start of the race. They didn't make the grid. They had an oil leak in the gearbox. They lost time getting that, and Johnny Kane, Danny Watts and Nick Leventis, almost unseen throughout the night, he just clawed those places back up to 11th overall, running like a train. 3:36s against the Rebellion's best 3:40s that Prost is doing at the moment. So Johnny Kane 4 seconds a lap faster in that HPD than the class leader.
Now let's talk about GTE. We've got the Aston back out on the circuit. It didn't lose too much time. It's running in 3rd place now. They'd made their way up to 2nd with Stefan Mucke in the car. They've now moved over to Adrian Fernandez and still running in 3rd place. So very good job of the team there to just look the car over. He got very lucky with that impact into the tire barrier. And a testament to Aston Martin in their design. The car looked just looked unscathed.
And for the first time in the race, the GT AM car has made it onto the first page. 24th place for Raymond Norack, the man from Rouen. It's his team, the IMSA Matmut Porsche. He won GT2 here 5 years ago. He won at Spa just a month ago, and really on top of his form. I know we've mentioned it before, but Raymond really should be a gold driver by now, not a silver.
Well, case in point, he's just set a fastest sector time on that car, so yeah, he's clearly not slow.
Yeah, and IMSA performance, IMSA stands for Innovation Mécanique. I'm not going to do the French. Innovation Mécanique Service Automobile, as we say, the best in Normandy, not too far from here.
But they're a Porsche dealer in Rouen.
Indeed.
Yep.
And Naraki, he's won the class here before himself. Anthony Pons, this is his first Le Mans 24 Hours. Nicolas Armindo, he's just raced the once here last year, but he's a long-time Porsche driver, so a goodly amount of experience there, and they've done a super job. It's been a great battle, actually, in GTE AM between that number 67 car and the number 50 Labre competition Corvette. Julien Canal is at the wheel of that car now, and the gap between those two cars is around just over a minute, 1 minute and 10 seconds. So not much to choose between those two. Third place in that class remains the number 57 Krone Racing Ferrari. Nick Johnson is at the wheel now, as he was when I left here at 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know whether that's...
Look at the shot of the number 3 car, just going for everything in there to get around those Ferraris. He was not going to wait. He took the chance of going completely offline through all of the rubbish on the outside of the circuit, which is now firmly planted onto his tires. But I suppose he just said to himself, well, I've got to do it, and I'll scrub it off in the Porsche curves.
He's on another flyer again, because he got a purple sector in Sector 1. He's just gone personal best in Sector 2. So, yeah, he wants to put this whole lap together.
And he's got a clear track in Sector 3, Liz.
He does.
Talk us through it.
Well, there's a chance here that he could really do the time very fast through Indianapolis, or on his way to Indianapolis through the right-hander. So fast, and with a clear track, he could actually be putting in some incredible lap times. That's Arnage corner there, very slippery, but absolutely clear. You can see the car just pushing to the outside. He's really on it right now, and just maximizing what he can in these perfect conditions with this cool weather. You can see him on his way now to the Porsche curves. Let's just see if he gets a clear run through these, because he's going to be so fast.
And of course they leave us and go back to the Mulsanne, don't they? Nico Prost, newlywed of course, son of Alain Prost.
Who's here, of course.
He's here, yes. As always, another father-son mentoring team.
Mike Rockenfeller, too, in car number 4 in third place. He just set a personal best for that car as a 3:26.2, I think it was. The time's gone away now, so all the Audis are going pretty quickly right at the moment.
David Brabham, the HPD, there in 7th place on our screens at the moment in P1. Right behind him, Tom Kimber-Smith in another HPD. Johnny Kane in another HPD, now moved up another place into 10th. Gone ahead of Pierre Ragues, and the 4th HPD in the race, Scott Tucker's car, in 14th place. This is great for Honda, isn't it? 4 super reliable cars this weekend.
Very impressive indeed for them, and possibly a bit better than they expected a few hours ago. If you'd said this is where they would be right now, I think they would have been surprised. I think it might be time, guys, to do a run-through of our retirements. We've got a few requests from people for that. We have a few new retirements as well, and we're going to go to a break first, I'm afraid.
Yep, we'll be back. I've got the marker of doom in my hand. One of our mainstays of our commentary team, and we cross off on the wall the cars that are out. At the moment we have got 40 cars still running, and amazingly the Dome, which is last, is not in the garage at the moment, so that is going round and round. We're going to take a break. Just watching the number 12 car there. That's Nico Prost, still on board the Rebellion Lola. We'll have more when we come back from these messages.
Welcome back to the Le Mans 24 Hours. You're on board here with the Audi R18 Ultra. This is the man on a mission through the Porsche curves right now. He's been putting in the fastest lap times that we've seen. The number 3 of Loic Duval. So fast here at Le Mans. We are just about to go through our retirements. We've still got 40 cars running, and Mark Cole here and I are just bringing out the marker of doom and crossing off the ones that we've lost. I know some of you have been wondering who we still have in the race and who is actually gone. Mark, do you want to run through the list?
Yeah, we'll start from the top. Number 7 car and number 8 car, the two Denso Toyotas factory cars, both out. One crashed, the other engine failure. Number 16 car, that's the Pescarolo team AMR1, they call it 03, which our colleague Stuart Hall was driving. That eventually retired with all sorts of problems. 3 engine failures even before the race. Jacques Nicolet's Oak Racing 24 car, P1 car, that was out. Both the Gulf Racing Middle East Lola Nissans, they were out. The 28 and 29 car, we're crossing those off. And we lost the single Lotus LMP2 car, the Lotus Deutschland car, Thomas Holzer, Mirko Schulze and Luca Morrow. 48 car, that's Murphy Prototype. Sad news for Irish fans. Jody Firth, Brendan Hartley and Warren Hughes. That car retired, and Warren had been a class leader for a long time in P2, fighting a great battle there. Moving into GTs, the 77 Team Felbermeyer Proton car. 3 factory drivers on board. That retired during the night. Richard Leeds, Mark Lieb and Wolf Hensler. The number 80 Flying Lizards of Timo Bergmeister. Timo Bergmeister, Pat Long and Marcus Holzer. That went out, I think, almost as Liz and I were driving into the circuit this morning. And the 58 Luxury Racing of Pierrette, Monte Calvo and Gunnar Jeanette. Gunnar Jeanette, the American driver, of course, mentored by Paul Newman all those years ago. The 75 Pro Speed car of Abdulaziz Al Faisal, the Saudi Prince, Brett Curtis and Sean Edwards. That was crashed out. The number 81 AF Corse Ferrari of Perezzini, Matt Griffin and Nicola Cadai. And Perezzini was involved in that horrendous accident that claimed the Toyota of Anthony Davidson. And final 2 retirements, the 99 Aston Martin, that's the GT AM car of Nygaard Poulsen and Simonson, the 3 Danes. And finally, a great loss to the race, the 0 Nissan Delta Wing, which was knocked off by one of the Toyotas when Satoshi Motoyama was at the wheel.
I think you just missed the 15 car. The other Oak Racing entry, that's also out.
Bertrand Baguette, Dominic Kryhammer and Frank Montagny. Yes, that also went during the night. Thank you, Jeremy.
We might have a problem right now for number 33. That's the Level 5 Motorsports HPD. That had been sneaking away. Scott Tucker at the wheel. I don't think there's anybody who drives more than Scott Tucker these days. He drives absolutely everything. At American Le Mans Series weekends, he has 2 cars which he runs in the American Le Mans Series in the P2 class. He drives both of them during the races. So he's at the wheel for virtually the entire event. He also drives in the IMSA GT3 Challenge, the Porsche GT3 Cup cars, and he also drives in the Cooper Tires IMSA, the Cooper Tires Prototype Lights category as well. So he often does 5 races during a weekend. He also drives in the Ferrari Challenge. He drives a SCCA car. Absolutely unbelievable the amount of racing he does.
Surprised he has time for anything else.
Well, quite. He still manages to make quite a lot of money, apparently. Yeah. But clearly a problem there. I think that was coming out of Arnage, wasn't it? It seemed to be pulled across to the side of the road. So that's a shame, because they had a little bit of difficulty early on, but they've moved their way up to 7th place in LMP2, this fabulously tight category. But it seems that they've got a problem now.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to get that car back into the garage and keep it going, because it's been a real fight for them. We'd love to see them come through to the finish.
Yeah, Luis Diaz sharing that car along with Christophe Bouchou. And Luis Diaz, he's such an enthusiast. He's a gem of a guy. He's several times has been voted the most popular driver in the American Le Mans Series. He's given his opportunity to come here this year, and absolutely loving every moment of it.
Yeah, such a nice guy, Luis Diaz, and very good friends with Adrian Fernandez. And I think, Mark, you were saying earlier, surely Adrian's been telling him for years, you've got to come out here and try Le Mans.
Yeah, Luis always said, yeah, I'd love to, just somebody's got to give me an opportunity. And finally it came this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite extraordinary, isn't it? You look at his record, twice Grand Am vice champion. He was ALMS LMP2 champion in 2009, vice champion again last year. It's won in Laguna Seca already this year, and never ever been to Le Mans. I mean, where have you been, Luis? Here you are.
I think I just sort of assumed he'd been here about 3 times before until I saw the book today. We just saw, I think it was the number 61 car coming through, straight on through the chicane. It looked like they had a bit of smoke coming from that left front tire, so perhaps a puncture on its way, but we're not on screen with them now, so hopefully we'll see a little bit more there.
Yeah, that was Brian Vickers who's driving that car, the NASCAR Sprint Cup regular, or irregular now, but he's been driving the Sprint Cup for a long time, and had a chat with him last night once he got out of the car. I think it was his first stint. It was into the night, and boy, he was beaming from ear to ear. He just had a fantastic time. Of course, he put out a tweet, didn't he, after the first night practice on Wednesday. Couldn't believe that number one, there weren't spotters here like to aid the drivers around the track. Whoa, there's a big moment there for one of the
it's going to be more than a moment.
Cars. I think he might have got away with that.
That's a replay, so
don't know whether that was Vickers. And then lights, you know, no lighting around the track. He said 170 miles an hour down these little country roads. He couldn't believe it, but boy, he was beaming from ear to ear. So it's the most fantastic thing he's ever done. Absolutely loves the opportunity to be given to come here by Michael Waltrip and the A, of course, the team, and of course Robert Kaufman, who's a part owner with Michael Waltrip Racing.
Yeah, and it's Robert Kaufman, of course, who got banned from the race last year after the Rockefeller accident. But incidentally, dailysportscar.com, they replied to Brian Vickers' tweet by saying, what do you want next, an icebox and chicken wings?
Just brilliant, really. But great to see these NASCAR drivers coming out here and enjoying it so much and just really loving everything Le Mans has to offer. I think that's really cool.
So 61 porting a puncher. Presumably that is the Waltrip car because it's the one we saw hit the rails. It is going slowly, and they've just got down at the moment to the second chicane. So I guess that's the aftermath of that off we saw.
Surely it was just the contact has just scrubbed that tyre a little bit too much.
Unless, of course, the puncher came first and caused the contact.
No, it's
Give him a
absolutely
benefit
possible.
of the doubt, Liz.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely possible.
So this is the action in front of the pits at the moment, right in front of our box, as one of the Audis sweeping through, and the speed differential it's carrying up the hill there, quite incredible. That's the number 3 car. Jacques Duval on board.
A few more tweets we've had overnight here. Maybe Liz, why aren't the corners lit up more?
The corners?
Yes.
Well,
because it's a real racetrack with, you know, it's back to the grassroots, Mark.
Yeah, I think it's because we're back out on road courses. A lot of this is just out on the public roads, and most of the circuits actually throughout Europe are not lit up very well. If you go somewhere like Spa, it has no lights at all. It's actually even darker than it is here. You do find some light over, certainly where we're facing, over near the Ferris wheel, and as you're coming towards the main straight, there is lights there. But as you go out onto the back portion of the Mulsanne straight, is very, very dark indeed. Looks like we've got a slow-moving car on the track, a Porsche that I've just seen. It definitely wasn't the Ferrari that we saw before, so we'll try and catch an image of that again.
And this is a replay.
And if you're here as a fan, yes, there might not be any lights, so it might be difficult kind of to see the cars, but you do have lighted numbers on these cars, and also they've adopted the regulation they've had for many years in the American Le Mans series, where each of the classes is denoted by its own colour. It's red for LMP1, blue for LMP2, green for GTE Pro, and orange for GTE AM. And there's 3 lights on the side of the car by the numbers. The class leader has 1 light lit up, the second place car in each class has 2 lights lit up, and a third place car has 3 lights lit up. And I think it's a great thing for the fans.
And here is the car graveyard of all the cars that have not finished. Such a sad sight to see, as the Ferrari doing its best to get back in. Oh, he's having a very hard time. You can see where he's made contact with the wall there. That's quite a bit of damage, actually.
Yeah.
And he's
to that left front.
Really struggling to keep that car under control. Doing a very good job to keep it off the racing line, though.
Well, the problem is he has to turn a different way sometimes to what he's used to. Yes, it's...
Uh-oh.
Oh.
That looks ugly.
Yeah, this is the struggle when you have a puncture like that. It's tempting to go a little bit too fast. And there's the car we saw that was stopped before. That's the Felbermeyer Proton car, number 88.
Yeah, they've already lost the 77 car, as we noted. So
yeah, they are currently running 4th in the AM class. We don't really know why they've stopped, but definitely not good news for them.
So that's Christian Reed,
that
Gianluca
left front
Roda.
tire is locked up solid. You can see why he's struggling so hard to turn that corner.
Oh, even kicked a leg in the air, didn't he? He's got damage on the other side as well.
Yeah, I think that's been quite a lot of contact there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tight. You can see this Audi flashing wildly, trying to get around the Krone Racing car. Just looked as if he'd thought he was going to be able to get around in the corner before, and a bit of a misunderstanding there, but thankfully managed to get away with that without any trouble.
Jeremy, a question for you about the Krone car. Our understanding is that it is actually a new model car, but they've had to backdate it. Is that correct? To last year's spec?
Indeed, that's the thing about GTE AM. You have to run year-old cars in that class, and you're not allowed to run the latest the latest technology. So yes, that is.
So you can buy a new car, but you have to.
It was a new car. It was a new car at the beginning of this year, but it was a 2011 spec car.
Ah, right. Okay.
There's various updates this year, including the wider. Radio there from Signatec Nissan, but can't really hear it. Uh-oh.
Oh, and now there's a fire there. That's not good. I think that could be.
Park it, Brian.
Oh.
And he probably doesn't know at the moment, does he?
He's still going pretty quickly.
Oh, that's quite a good fire as well.
At least he's made the pit lane.
Oh.
If you're going to have a fire, have it in the pits.
Yeah, but
you can see the trails of smoke right in front of us as well from where he's come.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big fire. Whoa. Thankfully, he's made it to pit lane and they're on the case.
He's parked it right next to a fire marshal there.
Yeah, he's done very well there.
Good thinking.
At least he parked it on the left-hand side of the road. He didn't bring it right next to the garage.
I actually think perhaps that's been a brake fire, because you can see from the tyre it wasn't turning at all. It looked like the brakes had just locked onto the tyre. Him driving around a significant amount of the circuit, and it's just heated up to the point where it's basically just combusted.
And it could well have ruptured a brake line in there as well to allows the fluid out onto the hot rotors as well.
Yeah,
so
I'm quite confident that's what's happened there, because we actually thought it was a puncture initially, but you never saw the tire start to delaminate, but the tire itself wasn't turning at all. Yeah. So I think it was definitely a single brake that's locked up there, probably from the impact into the wall. Or perhaps, like you said, Mark, maybe that happened and that's what caused it.
Yeah, well, he's able to drive the car back. That's the good thing. So it does suggest that it's not an oil fire.
One thing we've missed with all this action we've been seeing is that Loic Duval is now past the number 12 car of Nick Heidfeld, and it is now back to being Audi 1, 2, 3, 4 on the circuit.
All happened while that drama is going on.
Yeah, a couple of the previous lap now pulling away rapidly, and Johnny Kane in the 8th place in LMP1, Carlos Straka HPD. He's rapidly moving his way through the LMP2 contenders, and probably another 10-15 laps he should move himself up to 8th place overall.
Great comeback. Fisichella then continues to lead the pro category, and Raymond Narak, who just got onto our page for a moment, page in 24, top page, dropped back onto the other page, but only because Sam Hancock in the Zytek has repassed him. Sam, we had that moment, of course, earlier on, I think it was on Arge, wasn't it?
And you're talking there about GTE Am, and again a change of lead there. The Anthony Pons has just taken over the wheel of that car. It was Raymond Narak driving, wasn't it? A little while ago. That car's just made a pit stop a couple of laps ago. So that has enabled number 50 Labra Competition Corvette to move to the head of that class once again. That ongoing battle has been right the way from the start of the race.
ACO love a good fire, don't they? Director enjoying every moment of this drama. Of course, throughout the race we've had everything. We've had a wet warm-up, we've had a dry race, but we've had a lot of big accidents, we've had fires, we've had engine failures, everything Le Mans can throw at them. But we've still got 39 cars out there running. As we go for a break, we'll be back in a minute, and Carlton will be rejoining us soon. Back with Eurosport Live at Le Mans. Thanks to Liz Halliday, who's been with us the last couple of hours. She's now heading for the sofa in the sky to present the 24-hour programme in a while, and that brings back into her chair Stuart Hall. Stuart, we just watched that fire. Brian Vickers managed to get that Ferrari back to the pits, but looks like a brake caught fire eventually. At what stage would he have known there was a fire there?
When his legs started getting hot.
Yeah, right.
No, I think as soon as the flames started licking up over the side of the window and that, he probably knew. But I'll tell you what, full credit to him. You know, he didn't stop, he didn't bail out, he just drove it calmly into the pits, parked next to a fire marshal, got it put out, and got back in and drove it back into the garage. I mean, you know, that's what Le Mans is all about. It's all about keeping the car going, getting it into the garage. The AF Course boys will probably sort it out now, and that car will be back in the race in 30 minutes.
New fastest race lap. Loic Duval has been absolutely flying on this stint. He's got it down now to 3 minutes 25.165, which is just about the qualifying time, wasn't it? What was it?
Yeah, I'm just quickly checking
qualifying lap. A very no, they got into 23s in qualifying. That was a
3:20.
Yeah, it was about the same as the fastest lap from last year.
Yeah,
3:23.7.
Exactly right. Yeah. but he could still pull that down, couldn't he? It's certainly
he's 7 laps behind Mike Rockenfeller, but he's got himself up into 4th place overall. So mission accomplished there. It's now an Audi 1-2-3-4, as you mentioned just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, and that number 1 car, which is leading now in the hands of Marcel Fassler, the very safe hands of Marcel Fassler. And we just saw a shot of Andre Lotterer crossing over the pit lane to go into the pit wall box together with Lena Gage, the car's race engineer. So all is very well there. Audi Tom Christensen, Audi Mike Rockenfeller 2nd and 3rd, and Audi Loic Duval in 4th. And this is the man who's the fastest man on the track again, and he's just loving it, isn't he?
Tom Christensen, Mr. Le Mans, 8 times a winner, just coming through Mulsanne corner there. The fight's still on for that. You know, you don't know what team orders Audi will be playing, but you bet your life that McNish, Christensen and Capello will want to win this one.
And that man that we saw in the picture there, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, he's not going to tell you if there is any team orders, that's for sure. But these guys, they want to win it on their own. But they've been about a minute behind all the way through the race, pretty much from the first hour or so. And they've never quite been able to. Well, they clawed it back once when I believe it was Lotterer went off the road. I don't know, it must have been, what time it was this morning, between 3 and 4 in the morning, something like that, was it? That he went off the road and lost the lead briefly, but they've regained it again. And again, that gap between those 2 cars, a minute or a little bit more.
And then a 2-lap gap back to Mike Rockenfeller in the 4 car. But are we in the middle of a pit stop cycle? We are, I think, aren't we? Christensen has yet to make his... will he have to make a 23rd stop, or... have you managed to keep pace of all that, or is it getting out of
no, I've been
schedule now? Yeah,
doing all sorts of different things.
Of course,
and,
Mike Rockenfeller coming back from that car's suspension problem yesterday afternoon. One of 2 cars, 2 problems they have. We're never very clear about it, but the story we're told was debris was getting into the suspension, affecting the triangulation, and
what, the number 2 car?
Well, yeah, the 2 and the 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a big sort of clod of rubber pickup basically that got lodged in the suspension area. I mean, we see that periodically, don't we, Stuart? For different cars, for different reasons, get a big chunk of pickup there, and it can either put everything out of balance, so you've got a big vibration, or it can actually physically get in the way of the suspension, was apparently what happened in that instance.
Yep.
So there's the number 49 car that's been running absolutely fantastically well. Luis Perez Componc. Mr. Munchies is well in contention, 2nd place in the LMP2 category. I think that car has just been in the pits, because that's what it's showing on the scoring. But
just been in for fuel, I think.
Okay, and he's on his outlap now. And Tom Kimber-Smith, who is leading the class in the HPD for Starworks Motorsports, has just turned that car's fastest lap of the race. That's an Audi, isn't it?
Yeah, Audi's taken a rear quarter panel off.
It's one of the first 2 cars. It's a
definitely an e-tron, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, silver car rather than the black one.
He's taken the wing end plate off as well, which carries the rear running lights.
The leader.
Oh dear, Marcel Fassler. I just said to the car's been now in a safe pair of hands. Why did I say that?
Well, Marcel Fassler. Oh,
the Corvette.
It wasn't his fault, huh?
Yeah.
It was number 70 Corvette, 5th place in GTE AM.
He's going to have to come in for a rear section as well. That car's got the legality panels fallen off the back of the car, and it's damaged the rear ring as well. So that car, having just been in for a pit stop to change over to Marcel Fassler, is going to have to come back in to have that rear section. Now that's not going to be a long job for Audi. That rear section will whip off and a new one will come back on. But what it does do is now bring Tom Christensen into contention for the win. They're a minute and 14 behind, and I would actually say a pit stop's going to take longer than a minute and 14. If I was Marcel Fassler, I wouldn't be pushing this hard through the Porsche curve with a damaged rear wing.
Whoa! Well, a Corvette apparently tried to follow the Audi through there. 9 times out of 10, that isn't going to work. In fact, 99 times out of 100, that isn't going to work. So the 74 car has had all sorts of delays. Last night, actually about 1 o'clock in the morning, they had a routine pit stop. Richard Westbrook just took over the car from Jordan Taylor. A wheel fell off as it exited the pits. Disaster that team. It was leading the class at the time. No, he took over from Tommy Milner, I beg your pardon, that car number 74. And then there's a replay also of
someone losing a tyre.
Let's see.
Is that the Perez Compagnie car? Or?
No, that's the Boutsen. The Boutsen.
Yeah, the Boutsen
Junior car, yes, that's right.
Now that was young Jordan Taylor at the wheel of that Corvette. So,
well, which one? This one?
It's the one.
Oh,
no, it's the 73. Sorry. So who was at the wheel of the 74? That just spun. Tommy Milner. Tommy Milner, previous race leader.
Yeah.
After all the problems.
Yeah, and it was Milner that led the race, and he came in the pits, handed over to Westbrook, left the pits, wheel fell off, got it, limped it around, and lost about 3 laps. And Richard Westbrook was out on the track, and he had it coming together and caused quite a bit of damage. So that is why the car is a long way back. It's almost 35 laps down on leaders, and so it's out of contention now. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but despite this incident down at Arnage, Fassler has continued. He's continued into another lap. So I guess they'll just keep going as long as they can until either they get a warning, told to come in and fix it, because one of those rear legality panels is gone. Audi will just keep them out there as long as possible so they don't lose too much time. Tom Christensen does owe us a pit stop, because 22, he and Rockenfeller were on the same pit stop schedule, we noticed a little while ago, so we believe he's due for his 23rd pit stop before long. So
yeah, and he's just turned the fastest lap in that car. Last line around, I think it was a 3:25.5, I think it was, a 3:26.5.
So the fuel load's getting lighter, isn't it?
Indeed so, yeah.
Yeah, just seeing that moment again for Tommy Milner. But which car? It was one of the Labra cars that had spun at Arnage. And Stuart, there must have been yellow flags there. Fassel just would have been committed, would he?
The problem is, whilst you do try and err onto the side of caution with yellow flags, and this is from a driver's perspective, you don't really slow down. You just hope to God that when you come through, especially if you're leading Le Mans, as Jeremy, we're just looking at the leaderboard.
Pointing at the leaderboard there, so you can see as we're chattering away.
Whilst, yes, you've got air on the side of caution and there's going to be marshals on tracks, etc., but you don't slow down too much. And Fassler's come across the Corvette, obviously still pushing quite hard. He's got the win at Le Mans at stake, and it's just on the racing line, and he's gone to avoid it, but got in the gravel. The car's become a bit light, lost grip on the gravel, and just touched the wall, which has damaged the rear wing. Now, the only thing I'd worry about with that damaged rear wing is those wings are there for a reason, and they're under extreme amounts of load at sort of 200 odd miles an hour. So if that wing is slightly damaged, the chances of it failing are much higher. And if you get a rear wing failure at 200 miles an hour, you're going to have an awfully big accident.
Well, you remember last year, Romain Dumas arrived down at Mulsanne corner in the dark. There was an Aston Martin across the road, and despite the signals there, he hit that quite comprehensively, didn't he? So it does show,
That was my boss.
Is your
right? That was Roald.
That was Roald, was it? Yes. So we're not seeing any pictures of Fassel at the moment. I don't know why. The director's lost interest in it, despite the rear end damage. And car is continuing. He's just done a 3:30, so hardly slowed him down.
No, but the Boutsen car just coming in now. Baston Briere getting out. Ex-Formula 1 driver, the Japanese driver Shinji Nakano getting in, climbing aboard that car.
His 6th start at Le Mans, raced in a lot of racing in Japan, as you say, raced in Formula 1, raced in Champ Cars several years ago, actually with Adrian Fernandez's team, as we see Brian Vickers' car. Boy, yeah, of course, a Waltrip car. That's amazing to get that car out of the garage that quickly after what was a pretty stout fire, wasn't it, 10 minutes ago at the most?
Yep.
Incredible.
New door. That's a new door on there. Is that Brian Vickers going out again? Looks like
more.
Yeah. Good boy.
Good old boy.
Yeah. Good for him. He's got a great attitude, I have to say. Yep. He's really soaking up the atmosphere at Le Mans.
So factory Corvette service going on at the moment. Just trying to see which one is in the pits. Tommy Milner still, yeah. He's dropped behind Brian Vickers in the standings now. And here's the #1 car. We've picked it up again. That rear end plate missing, as well as the legality plate at the back.
Tom Christensen at the moment is gently closing on Marcel Fassner.
Yep.
Every lap he's been slightly quicker. That's 2 or 3 seconds. Now, the lead's only a minute, and there's still 7 hours left. So this race could get very interesting if Dr. Wolfgang Ullrich allows it to.
I mean, presumably the fact he's still running at this pace means the damage is only cosmetic, and hopefully they can just fix it with a quick rear end panel when the rear end change when he stops. as we say, we do think Tom Christensen has to make a stop soon, so it could still come back to Marcel Fassler this race.
Well, those end plates on the rear wings are there for a reason. So what it's going to do, if it's still safe, it's going to destabilise the handling of the car, and it's going to cause the air that flows over the wing, the end plates on there to sort of stabilise the air and make it go in at the right angle. And I'm going to touch on this. I'm going to come back after the break, but
and I'm not. I'm going to leave you. Carlton Kirby is going to join us. We'll be back after these messages.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage, live coverage of the 80th Le Mans 24-hour race. You're looking at car number 2, Tom Christensen, the 8-time winner at the wheel of this Audi R18 e-tron Quattro, making the pit stop that Mark Cole was predicting a few minutes ago. My name is Jeremy Shaw. Mark has departed the scene for the minute. We're joined now by Carlton Kirby. Stuart Hall is still with us, and this, we reckon, Stuart, is a routine service for car number 2. And Tom Christensen has turned a string of very fast laps over the course of this entire stint.
Most definitely, Jeremy. Tom Christensen has got the bit between his teeth. We have had the incident with Marcel Fassler that's damaged the rear of his car. He hasn't quite got the pace that he had earlier now, Fassler, and Tom Christensen's probably 2 or 3 seconds a lap quicker. So this race is definitely on between the two. The gap's sort of been coming down ever so slowly from a minute 20 to now down to a minute. Christensen's just come in. He's just had fuel, so you know, the tyre's holding up very well on that Audi e-tron, and he's back out there to hunt Marcel Fassler down a bit more.
Indeed, and Marcel Fassler, he's got some damage clearly to the left rear corner of the car after that incident down at the Mulsanne corner. And you were just talking before the break, Stuart, about there, and you can see the damage there as he comes through the kink and down to the Mulsanne corner one more time on the wrong way. But that is the Morgan Nissan that was leading the class for many hours, long time ago now, through the late evening. Then they had 4 punctures in a row. Contact, it was like,
I reckon that's an incident between the two of them. That is, because that's at the same corner. The Nissan's just round the corner. So that's the exit of the corner. The Nissan's off its many way, but the Corvette is stranded.
And the number 45 car, they led for a long time. They had a string of 4 punctures in a row. It wasn't a 45, it was a 35. A string of 4 punctures in a row. They also had an electrical problem, but still running in the top 7, I think, in the class. Is Baz Lenders, who's at the wheel of car number 35 at the moment. That is the Morgan Nissan, and now shown as 7 laps, 8 laps.
Stopped on the track side, right, driver's right-hand side.
There's a race director there saying the car is stopped on the driver's right-hand side. But as you can see right there, but the number 35 car, a lengthy delays, but still running in the top 7 in the class in LMP2. It's been a fast car, that one. The Oak Racing, for a long while through last evening, well into the evening, they were running 1-2 in the class, and then within the space of a few minutes, the car we just saw a few minutes ago, the purple and black car number 35, driven by Baz Lenders, Maxime Martin and David Heinemeier Hansen, had a string of punctures and then the electrical problem. And almost at the same time, the number 24 car, Oak Racing, from that Olivier Pla put on the pole position. That's the Morgan Judd engine car that Olivier Pla shared with Mathieu Lehay and with the team owner Jacques Nicolet, that had an engine problem. It was an oil pump failure. They tried to fix it, as there is poor Tommy Milner. Boy, he's had a tough time of late, trying to get out of the way, basically, isn't he?
You know, we're talking about travails, Jeremy, and this car led the class and has had so much brutality heaped upon it. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that the Oak has indeed tagged it, the Morgan Nissan, and that hence it's ended up that way. It's almost more dangerous when that happens at night because of flaring headlights just blinding the drivers on the approach through those curves. But he's done a fine job here of just extricating himself, choosing his moment. Does that look like all the back plexi is missing from that machine? If it is, he's had a heck of a bump there. You were talking about Tom Christensen. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but he seems to learn them all the time. I think it's because he's actually a terrier and they're very long-lived. So he's actually still in his youthful zone in dog years, if we continue the analogy. And dogged he most certainly is. You wouldn't bet against the old boys, would you, in this one?
No, you're right. The old boys, yeah, they are the oldest driver lineup for the Audi. Alain Minish is 42. Dindo Capello is, as of midnight, 48. And TK Tom Christensen, 44 years old. But I tell you what, it's... I would take experience over youth here at Le Mans any time, and as we've seen all week long, all three of these drivers super fast, super consistent, can get the job done. They had a bit of a problem in the early stages of the race. The handling of that car wasn't quite right. They fell about a minute behind, and that's really where they've been for most of the race, but they're still charging hard. And as we saw a few minutes ago, Tom Christensen turning the fastest laps of that car, and within a few tenths of the fastest lap of the race that was also set within the last half an hour ago, but a half an hour or so, by a car number 3, Loic Duval.
Yeah, that has been an amazing recovery by Duval. He felt more than responsible for punting the 3 car further down the field. He's been on a charge ever since. He's constantly been snapping at the heel. Through the night, he got very, very close to the 12 and 13, and then just got himself into bother yet again. Finally, he has made it. When did the change take place? When did he take 4th spot? Has he been there for a couple of hours?
No, it was about, again, about a half an hour ago.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Well, he's done the trick, hasn't he? An Audi 1, 2, 3 and 4 then, and don't bother looking for Toyota if you're suddenly waking up and thinking, I wonder how the blue cars are doing. They were supposed to be red, but they changed the livery. Possibly think it's a marketing exercise to encourage some French fans here. They have turned out their droves, but weren't fooled. But that, yes, unfortunately, the 7 car expiring in the night as well after the 8 took a huge flight. And yes, the damaged car, damaged vertebra as well, I'm afraid.
Yeah, great showing for Anthony Davidson. He got out of the car, was complaining of back pain. Take to the infield medical centre here, and they said they couldn't find anything wrong, but he was still complaining of back pain, so they took him to the local hospital, and there it was confirmed that there was a break to the 11th and 12th vertebrae, I think it was. So he'll be kept in the hospital until Monday, and then he'll face a recuperation period of probably a couple or 3 months. So very best wishes to Anthony Davidson, and I hope it's.
Well, he's actually remains chipper. He tweeted Johnny Molan last night. I don't know whether he was on the happy pills because of his injuries, quite possibly. But yeah, he said he was enjoying the race. So there you go. Remaining circumspect, and likewise for Stuart here, Stuart Hall. It's been great to see you looking moderately revived, frankly, after the huge disappointment of your run. But hey, you're still involved, which is great, and you're here, and we need you.
Thank you. I feel wanted. No, just about, I'd like to touch with Anthony. I think Formula One's loss is sports car racing's gain with Anthony. He's come into sports cars. His first real foray, other than the 550 Maranello Pro Drive cars, was with Aston as my teammate. He then went to Peugeot and has now gone to Toyota. And great shame what happened to him yesterday. Very unlucky, but he's got a great attitude about his racing and about life in general. And just goes to show from the way he's tweeting last night. This won't deter him. If anything, it will make him more hungry to come back and win this race, and it's something that's probably definitely going to happen in the future. I
think the ones that get away, you can talk about this, Stuart, because you actually hit the jackpot more or less straight out of the box. Phenomenal 4th place, which we all eulogised and loved, and then you had the huge disappointment later. And I know that in terms of hours that you actually think about this, as the 45 car gets taken into the garage here, it's the ones that get away that niggle the most and almost stay longer in the memory, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. And I think as we got a shot of that's not a wheel broken, that is a suspension problem, I would have said.
Yeah, we saw that car. We saw that car limping back to the pits, 10-15 minutes ago. It had a stop in the pit lane, a fairly lengthy stop in the pit lane. It was sent back out again, but then came pretty much right back into the pits. And that is the reason why, because we saw it limping around. clearly a broken right rear suspension on that Boots and Ginion Oreca chassis.
Doug Feehan looking on at the Corvette boys going to work at repairing the rear of that car. Probably not over impressed about how this race has gone. Those guys were definitely in the mix when I left the booth last night and come back this morning, and it's all gone wrong.
Yeah, and it was, initially it was finger trouble, unfortunately, on that car. The left rear wheel wasn't fixed properly. The mechanic didn't realize it. The car left the pit lane and the wheel fell off pretty much right away, and it had to limp all the way around, and then it was downhill from there. The other car, though, the 73 car, that was running strongly and continues to run strongly. It was in second or even second place, I think it was, when I left here at about 2:30 last night. Do you know what happened to that one overnight? It's obviously lost quite a bit of ground because...
Well, the 74?
73.
Oh, beg your pardon. It got tagged. It was actually involved in an incident with one of the Audis right in front of us here, and from that moment on we had some issues with it throughout. Yeah, I actually left before I found out what the diagnosis was, but there you go. The 51 car, by the way, of Fisichella, has got amazing range. We talked about this earlier on, and slowly but surely, Jeremy was saying it may not be leading the class at the moment, but it most definitely will be, and slowly but surely it has just eked out an amazing gap, courtesy of the fact that it can go 14 laps.
That's a lot around here. That just goes to show how economical that car is. And round Le Mans, 14 laps, that's going to be worth 2 or 3 pit stops at the end of the race.
There we go, 17 stops that they've made. The Aston was really battling the 97 car early on. I know it's had some unscheduled ones as well because of incidents, but 19. So there you go. It tells you an awful lot straight away. And if you look further down that field, yeah, plenty others have had even more stops. So yeah, Corvette looked to have got longer legs than the Aston as well. So naturally enough, they slotted into that position. I think if they hadn't had their other problems, just getting tagged, and as you said, finger trouble as well on one of the Jack guys, who essentially just led to a situation where we had this pendulum swinging of troubles, almost swinging as much as the back end of the car, with suspension damage and all kinds of other stuff when it had to go all the way around the circuit here. So yeah, you ride your luck in this one, but if you happen to have got economy on your side as well, then when the luck does go with you, you can really take massive strides, and that's what the 51 car has done. It's almost, I think, after the amazing battle that we had early on, almost killed the battle really, because the Ferrari is just so much cleaner away from everybody else here, and they got all their bad luck out of the way, of course, very early on, with a total rebuild of that car before we started. The drivers actually said that they were adjusting setup on track during the race. Well, they found it, and they're flying at the moment. We'll take ourselves a break. Oh, hello. We may not actually tagged the 55 car. We may well have another look at that, and we did. A bit of debris getting in the way in the first instance. I don't know whether that was part of the contact or whether that's just something they've picked up. Did that lead to a concertina effect, Jeremy?
Don't know.
No, neither do I. Well, we'll take that break then. We'll delve deep into the forensics of that one.
It was Tom Christensen that seemed to nudge the back of the Porsche down at Mulsanne corner.
There you go. Just over 6.5 hours remaining of this one. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Le Mans. Just over 6.5 hours remaining, 6 hours 33. It's quite remarkable, really, to think that there's that much racing still left in this 24-hour event. The 80th running of the great Le Mans 24 hours. Just checking down the timing screens here, and seeing the HPDs absolutely locked together says something about the consistency of that program. And in fact, they've got massive ambitions as well, as we look at the 2-car here of Tom Christensen, who's setting a rapid pace here. So it's gone round, by the way, in a 3:27.6, which is very, very quick. In fact, I think it's fastest man out there at the moment. It may well become a private battle between the Audi hybrids here. We speculated about that. There's the gap, 1 minute 45, but with 6.5 hours to go, you wouldn't bet against the old boys actually doing this. Just back to that HPD comment. Yeah, they're actually locked together here. Honda are thinking about a bigger program. They're looking for partners, and yeah, one of the teams that was actually in consideration was the 22, actually. So we'll see whether those boys at JRM and their efforts right here come to much. I suspect that they're waving the flag rather frantically at the moment, saying me, me, me. The 21 car as well, Johnny Kane's on board that. They, Strucker Racing, are also in the frame to get big factory funding. They're not going to come directly involved, Honda, but they will be taking a partner. That's what they're actively looking for. But if that happens, it's going to be possibly one of those two teams. You never know, they might just feel sorry for them and split the project, but I think they may well just have an eye as to using one or other of them. They both know that, and maybe that's why they're keeping it so clean. You spotted something there, Stuart, while I was busy gazing at the time.
No, we're just touching on how quick Tom Christensen was going. That's actually how slow Marcel Fassler is going. He's probably going to do a quick lap time now, but earlier we were saying about how the damaged rear of the car is going to affect the handling, and I didn't explain it fully. The rear wing acts as basically a downforce pattern to push the rear of the car into the ground, and the end plates on the end actually clean up the airflow that makes it far more efficient and gives the car more downforce on the rear. So when you damage that, the wing basically becomes less efficient, gives the car less downforce, then the rear of the car becomes very lively. Now what that will do is take Marcel's confidence away, and it will also eat up tyre wear. As we're seeing at the moment, Marcel is doing 334s. That's the slowest that car's been all race. He's doing 334s, 336s. Nick Heidfeld in the petrol-powered Lola Rebellion is doing a 332. So it just goes to show how much the damaged rear end of that Audi is starting to allow Tom Christensen to bring the number 2 Audi back into the race. And what Audi don't want to do is pit Marcel Fassler now and perhaps have to make another pit stop at the end of the race. So they're going to keep him out as long as possible. Then when he does come in for a scheduled stop, that scheduled stop will be slightly longer than normal, put a rear end on the car, and hopefully Marcel will be back up to speed. But until that happens, he's losing time hand over fist to Tom Christensen.
You're absolutely right, Stuart Hall, and what is interesting about that is as we see the number 4 car making a routine pit stop. There's Mike Rockenfeller, the 3rd place car, a couple of laps behind the overall leader Marcel Fassler in car number 1. The incident that Fassler had at Mulsanne Corner was on his out lap, wasn't it, after a routine pit stop. It's interesting that the team made the decision not to bring that car back into the pits and change that rear bodywork, because for exactly the reasons you're saying. But it was, it was so soon into the stint, really wasn't a whole heck of a lot to gain or to lose, and there's it was a risky manoeuvre, I think, to keep that car out there, because for the reason you say, it's completely upset the aerodynamic balance of that car. And it's going to be lucky if it hasn't upset the mechanical balance as well, because there's quite a bit of the car missing. If you get any sort of vibration in the car, which is quite likely at those sort of speeds, that can be very, very damaging in the long term. So I'm surprised they didn't bring that car in, get that change done, and send him out there with a clean new set of rear bodywork on the car. So the car will be back up to full strength. It's I think it's a little bit risky keeping it out there now in damaged form.
I think it is as well, and that rear wing is damaged. If something breaks at 200 mile an hour,
not funny.
It's going to be big.
Yeah.
Great shot of Giancarlo Fisichella. We had a great shot of Tom Kimber-Smith as well in the Starworks car. Another great shout out to him. He's leading the class. He's pulling away from Luis Perez Compagnac in the Oreca behind, and fingers crossed. There's 6 hours and 28 minutes left, but you wouldn't put a bet on Tom Kimber-Smith being a double winner here.
3-time winner here.
Well, sorry, I mean in LMP2.
In consecutive years, absolutely right. It's amazing, but he's still only, it's less than a minute and a half the gap from him back to the 2nd place car in LMP, which is Luis Perez Campont, the team owner there of the Picon Racing Lola Judd. That's running in 2nd place because between them on the road is Johnny Kane in the Straka HPD, the LMP1 car, and in probably 2 or 3 laps that will move ahead of Tom Kimber-Smith in the overall classification, and will then have 8 LMP1 cars at the head of the field, and then another string of 8 LMP2 cars directly behind that. But certainly the number 49 team, that Pecan Racing guys, have done an excellent job to stay very much within striking distance of that leading HPD.
Absolutely love that onboard, those onboard pictures of Bononomi there. Still sort of just making sure everything was plugged in, everything was in the right place while going hell for leather. And Loic Duval has just posted a 3:26.124. Well, he's actually lifting his skirts, you might say, and just streaming away from the Lolas here. Heifeld and Bellici now being well and truly distanced after being caught by Duval in that 3 car. This looks like, well, for the time being, it is an Audi 1234, or is it an Audi 1243? Those are the actual nomic numbers applied to the cars here. Oh, the 23 has taken an excursion here.
That car was running very well in the early stage of the race. It's now slipped back to 7th or 8th in the LMP2.
Yeah, 9th it is.
Right there, so it is. Frank Mayer at the wheel of car number 23, one of the 2 Signatech Nissan entries. He shares that car with Jordan Tressel. Done a really nice job in his first year. Whoa. Was that some sort of problem there that he had?
He just went in a bit quick and got the car up on the inside curb, and when the car eventually landed, he was off on the dirty side of the track, which caught Romain Dumas out yesterday. And once you're on that dirty side of the track, the car's just going to understeer into the wall, and you're not going to stop it. There's so many marbles, and there's so much dust, and there's so much gravel there now that there's just no grip. It's like driving on ice. So if you do get sorry, we're just hearing some.
They're just declaring the local yellow for this.
Race director Eduardo Freitas there, giving us a good bit of information that we're already seeing. But if you do get off that racing line, you're going to slide straight into the gravel, and that's just the good news. Is he didn't hit the wall, so hopefully he'll be on his merry way, and he shouldn't have to come into the pits.
We were talking about the gravel from last year, caused an awful lot of punctures. Split pebbles were the issue, as well as the track being a lot cleaner this time by. 23 just getting himself back and underway and back on track. They have done a massive gravel change here. It's much more rounded.
And once again, that was the first chicane. We've seen an awful lot of cars off the road there at that first chicane. We saw that was where Romain Dumas made hit the wall, hit the fence in exactly the same place much earlier in the race. That was what that cost that number 3 car. It's 8 laps to the race leader, and we've seen a whole bunch of other cars off there as well. And the thing about it is, if you get offline down there, the track is very grippy. It's been resurfaced all the way down the Mulsanne and through the chicane, so there's a lot of grip there. But when you get off the racing line, there's a lot of rubber marbles out there. There's little pebbles, if you like, of rubber that are thrown off these tires as they go through those turns, and there's a whole it's clag, as David Hobbs calls it. It's a sort of build up off the racing line. When you get on that, then there's no grip at all. The car just slides across those rubber marbles, and you're into the fence before you know it.
Clag, he must be from Lancashire. We'll investigate.
No, he's from the Midlands.
Well, yeah, near enough. It's an engineering term.
Car number 1, though, is in the pits now. Marcel Fester. This is on schedule in terms, excuse me, of their fuel strategy. He brings that car into the lead on lap 275, 276 completed now as he brings that car into pit lane. It'll be routine service. I want to see now that pit stop. Stuart Hall, they will, I'm sure, change the rear bodywork on that car. Here he comes.
So coming into the pits, will they stick another set of tyres on it as well? That's the thing, because that rear end being damaged is going to work the rear tyre much harder than it normally would have worked. So getting 4 stints out of it might be a little difficult.
And of course, as per the regulations, all you're allowed to do, if you're fueling the car, you're not allowed to do anything else other than driver changes. If you wanted to do that, they don't need to do that. Once the fueling is completed, then 2 crew members can go over the wall at any one time. You see, they're going to, because of that rule, they figured it's much easier and quicker to put that car up on the jacks, roll it back into the garage. Then they can do, as many crew guys as they like can work on that car. They clean around the front, clean the windscreen. They can also change that rear bodywork.
Just while we're watching that, fellas, there's been a change in the lead of the GT-AM class. The 67 car, which was up into 24th place not that long ago. I'm wondering if he's actually heading in here, because right now it's the 50 Corvette that's taken over the lead and appears on the first sheet of timings here, down to up to 24th, I should say, overall. Not sure whether there's an issue with the 67 Matmut car or whether he's just coming in.
That's just been an ongoing battle all the way through the race, and I think Julien Canal has just passed Anthony Pons, who's at the wheel of car number 67, the Porsche at the moment. So it is the Corvette having just overtaken the Porsche to lead that class once again. Julien Canal shares with Patrick Bornhauser and with Pedro Lamy, a massively experienced driver, of course. He's never won here, Pedro Lamy, but he does have several podium finishes. He's had 2 overall podium finishes and 3 class podium finishes as well, does Pedro Lamy, and trying at last maybe he can get a win under his belt, but that's been an ongoing battle between those 2 cars, and they've just made that change of position down on the racetrack as we see the number 1 car back out into the race. That's the good news. The bad news is that Tom Christensen has made that pass, a 2-minute 16-second stop, so it cost him about a minute and a quarter making that change to the rear bodywork, Stuart Hall.
It certainly has, Jeremy, and the only thing in favour of that car now, it's done its stop, and Tom Christensen will have to do one. So Fassler has 1 stop in hand, and he has a new set of rubber as well. So as Tom Christensen said last year, you've got to keep your arrows sharp, and that's certainly what they're doing with Marcel Fassler. We'll probably see his lap times come down now. He was really starting to struggle right back into the late 330s with that Audi at the end of the stint there.
Yeah, he did do a 329 actually.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, just a couple of laps ago, but mainly, as you were saying, it was well into the 30s. He was losing, as you were absolutely rightly saying, 3 or 4 seconds a lap on a consistent basis. But with that stop there, he's now shown us 41 seconds behind, and the gap before was about a minute and a half. So Christensen, they're on slightly different fuel strategies. They're having to make pit stops about every 45 minutes, but there's still over 6 hours to go in this race. So it's kind of too soon. There's all sorts of things can play out. So it's too soon really to see how that strategy, how those pit stop strategy will work out in terms of number of pit stops each of them will have to make before the end of the race. We won't really know that until we get into the last 3 hours or so.
Just checking this out here. Duval has just posted the fastest lap, a 3:24.740. So if he ever was trying to just keep it in the Audi family, he's proving that right now.
Yeah, he's over the last hour or so, he's turned about 4 or 5 times now, just gone faster and faster and faster in car number 3.
We'll take a break. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Sunshine. Yes, it'll go down as a dry one, this. We're not talking about in terms of taste. It's been an absolute feast for motorsport fans. And yes, the battles through GT have been enthralling. Aston Martin, they've been hobbled a little bit by their economy, and they're getting bullied on a regular basis, it seems, by Ferrari. And when Giancarlo Fisichella is on board, he means business. Yes, he got a bit of a slap round the heads. He's probably given it to himself, I imagine, in the 51 car. And here he is, just tracking a 97 right now, and just showing who's the daddy right here. Look at this.
Yeah, it's been a magnificent performance by Giancarlo Fisichella, who's at the wheel right now. Jimmy Bruni and the third driver is, oh dear me, it's a long day, isn't it? Tony Villander, of course. Yeah, they made up. They got all their mishaps out of the way before we got down to the race. We talked about it several times during the race. Jimmy Bruni crashed the car heavily during the warm-up. There's a number 42 car.
Yep,
back in the garage again. Martin Brundle at the wheel.
Yeah, that's a shame. They got that car back up into 7th place in the class, but now losing a lot of time.
That's been a heck of an effort.
Another 51 car. Bruni crashed it heavily at the test day 2 weeks ago. They rebuilt the car. Giancarlo Fisichella then crashed it exactly the same place on a racetrack in the Porsche Curves on Wednesday. Then the car was destroyed in that case. They had to bring in a brand new chassis, build it up from scratch. and since then the guys haven't put a wheel wrong. It's everybody else in the GTE Pro class that have either made mistakes or had punctures or hit somebody or been hit or whatever it is. They, however, the number 51 guys, they've kept it clean, and they are reaping the benefits of that. They have currently an advantage. It's only about a lap advantage, but it is indeed a lap advantage over the number 59 car. It was put on the pole, the luxury racing car. Dominic Farnbacher at the wheel of the car now. About 2 hours ago, they had a puncture on that number 59 car. That cost them a little bit of time, certainly, but the good news is it was toward the end of the lap, so they didn't have to do a complete lap on a flat tire. They made the change and got out there, and it's just 1 lap down, and then another gap of about, I think, 2 laps back to Darren Turner, who's just taken over the wheel of the very fleet number 97 Aston Martin V8 Vantage, who is taking over from Adrian Fernandez, that car running 3rd in GTE Pro.
Yeah, I think his job really is to prevent a Ferrari lockout, because Bertolini is running just over a minute behind. They got better mileage, and it may well be Ferraris 1, 2 and 3 in the Pro class before you know it here. We'll see. You've got a slow car on the track, and it looks like the 30 car.
Jelmer Berman at the wheel of the Stallus Grand Prix. They've had all sorts of problems. Alexander Sims had a pretty big off. Not long. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. No, a little bit after that. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning, I think it was. And a lot of front end damage on that car. They repaired it, got it back out again.
Car on the driver's right-hand side at the exit of
Where did he go off?
There is a stopped car at the exit of Mulsanne, driver's right-hand side.
Exit of Mulsanne is where he is at the moment.
Don't know where he went off, honestly. Let's see if I can find out.
59 cars just pitted in off P2 for the Pro class. It may well allow Darren Turner to unlock himself with that vehicle, but not quite sure where he was on track, so he may well be holding station if Farnbacher can get a clean one here. Not sure whether we're going to catch up with that. There is Loic Duval, who set the fastest lap of a 3:24.189. He's absolutely monstering the course at the moment. Phenomenal. That was his last lap. Here we go. 3 car on his way in. Was running light and went on full attack. Fantastic. So last time by, set that lap record, and here he comes for his changes, whatever they are. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think it'll be routine service.
I believe that'll just be fuel for Bononomi. He's only done 1 stint, so that should be fuel. Looking at the timing screen, Fassler's not making much of an indent into Tom Christensen at the moment. His last lap was a 3:31. Christensen's was a 3:26.
Yeah, Fassler, of course, on a full tank of diesel fuel. Christensen getting toward the end of his stint, and a 3:26.3, another very fast lap there by TK in that car number 2. He just asked about the Stallus Grand Prix, the car number 30 that we saw limping around there slowly with Jelmer Berman at the wheel on the Mulsanne straight. It was around about 12 hours into the race. They had a puncture, and with Alexander Sims that really came in, they changed that puncture, and then when he went out, he had a big off at Indianapolis, and they got the car back to the pit lane and lost about 45 minutes. They repaired. It wasn't the suspension. The front suspension itself wasn't damaged, but the shrouds around it were. The wheel speed sensors, the electronics around that front wheel were replaced, and a really good job by that team to get it back out on the track, and including the time lost for Alexander to get that car back to the pit lane. They lost about 45 minutes in total.
Sims had a big sorry, Carlton. Sims had a big accident at Spa as well.
Yeah. Before the race, before start the race.
Yeah. So,
reasonably high attrition rate here. We've got 37 cars still active in this race. The 80th running of the 24 hours. I suspect we may well lose a few more before the end here. There's a lot of stories still to be told in this volume of this edition. We have 6 hours and 11 minutes remaining, Joe.
I think the latest retirement was the number 33 car. Scott Tucker was the wheel of that Level 5 Motorsports LMP2 HPD car. We saw the car stopped on the exit of Arnage probably an hour or so ago, and I think that car, it's certainly shown as being out of the race now. It certainly didn't make it back to the pits, So I think we can pretty much classify that car as a retirement as well.
Almost a rarity for Honda Power here. They used to pride themselves that they'd sold something incredible like 20 million VTEC engines, and they'd never had a single engine failure. They're inordinately reliable, and they're running 7, 8 and 9 at the moment, all hugged together, 2 P1s and a P2 up front.
And here's another car that's had a really excellent first ever Le Mans 24 Hours, the ADR Delta team. John Martin put that car on the pole, led the early stages. Jean Charouz is at the wheel now, a Formula 1 test driver, isn't he, with the Lotus team. Jean Charouz has been driving in single-seater cars and sports cars, in fact, for a number of years. A lot of experience. That car is back up into 5th place in LMP2 after various incidents. They had a couple of punctures. They had a radiator. They had a bodywork problem, actually. The fitment of the bodywork that covered the fasteners came loose, and that was kind of ballooning out a little bit and caused the car to overheat. Had to bring that car in and change it. That cost them about 12 minutes, 3 or 4 laps, and that is about the margin now by which they trailed the leaders in LMP2.
Well, blazing lights here as he comes through some of the shadowed areas. We've got the same problem of flare, I guess, at this time of the morning. Mind you, it's probably passed a little bit by now. We're 10 to 9 in the morning local time, and thankfully it is going to be a sunny day. Our landlady was absolutely right. When everyone had doom and gloom predictions, she said, no. I don't know what she based it on, squirrel poo or something. But yeah, local knowledge comes to the fore, and she delivered. She's brought us good weather.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, if you look back 24 hours from now, leading up to the warm-up, which started at 9 o'clock, didn't it? It was piddling down. It was really nasty conditions, and it rained for probably till about 11 o'clock. By the start of the race, the track was dry, and it has, as you say, Carl Cole, it's remained dry ever since, and absolute picture-perfect conditions now. Still pretty cool, but at least it's dry, and everything is in great shape.
I believe Carlton Cole's a footballer.
What did I say?
Carlton Cole.
Yes, well, the European Championships are on. We'll go with that. Mark Cole will be rejoining us a little bit later on. Easy go. That's right, 6 minutes and 6 hours and 8 to go. My goodness.
And there is that, the car has been in and out of the lead. The car number 67, the Instant Performance Map Route car of Raymond Narak and Nicola Armindo. Who's at the wheel right now is Anthony Pons. A routine pit stop here. They've traded the lead back and forth with the Labra Corvette. Before this stop, this car, the Porsche, was about 30 seconds behind the Corvette. So the Corvette now would appear to have slightly the upper hand, Stuart, after a battle that's been raging all the way through.
It has at the moment. I think now that, no disrespect to Anthony Pons, but Anthony Pons is the slightly slower of the 3 drivers in the IMSA Performance car. He's got much less experience than the likes of Raymond Narak and certainly Nicolas Armindo. So now Raymond Narak is in the car, and obviously Nicolas Armindo will go next. I think that car will start to come back at the Corvette. It'd be interesting to watch out for.
Routine pit stop, I think, here for the number 21, the Stracker Racing HPD. That car just moved up into 8th place overall. We talked about that over the last hour or so. It's catching up. We had a delay at the start. They've made a great comeback with that machine, and it just got back to 8th place overall, but with this pit stop it'll fall back to 9th, but still 8th in LMP1.
Yeah, shame for them really. They started off amongst the favourites, but it was such a difficult branch of difficult category to actually call here. P2 really has been quite amazing. What are you spotting?
The number 44 car, that is, as you're talking about P2 and HPD, that is the class-leading car. Tom Kimber-Smith at the wheel at the moment. That car has been running like a train. Enzo Potalica and Ryan Dalziel share that car with Tom Kimber-Smith.
We'll take ourselves a brief break, and we'll be back here live at Le Mans with just over 6 hours of the great event remaining. The sun is shining. Yes, we're looking forward to this. It's the run for home, I think you might say.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans, brought to you by Daimler. Drive with confidence.
Welcome back. We've had the leader pit for the 50 car has come in for the AM class, and they're busy at Audi 2, Jeremy.
Yes, indeed. They are routine pit stop for the race leader, Tom Christensen, just exchanging the bottles there in the cockpit. We've had a couple of questions earlier in the weekend about that, the blue and the red bottles there. The red bottle is the drinks bottle, the blue bottle is the fluid for the reservoir for the windscreen washer, and they replenish those on both of the pit stops. As we talked about yesterday, I had a bit of a chuckle. The drivers often complain that maybe the mechanics mix up the two bottles, because they say when they take on a drink during a race it actually tastes horrible. But look at this.
This is the battle for the lead of Le Mans 2012.
Well, he got out and got away, but look at this. It couldn't be much closer, could it, up at the top? 1 and 2, they're the numbers, and they're not running like that at the moment, though.
We knew they were going to be close together after the delay that the number 1 car had after an incident down the Mulsanne corner. Rear bodywork was flapping around on the car. The left rear corner was damaged. They came in on the last pit stop, which is about 5 laps or so ago. They changed the bodywork. And of course now number 1 car that has only a half a tank of fuel, whereas number 2 car is full of fuel. So
Christensen's going defensive on the Mulsanne, but Fassler, a bit more speed coming out of Tech Rouge.
He's straight on here.
They both made a mistake.
They did. I think as he seeded it back to him, no, he hasn't. He's picked it up and just gone here, Christensen. He said you've got to keep your arrows sharp here. That means essentially just battling your teammates and just trying to keep it clean. Well, that was hardly that, Stuart.
No, I mean, certainly no team orders on that camp. They both want to win Le Mans like anything.
Wow, wasn't that amazing? I mean, Fassler had the advantage there. He had hot tyres. You know, he's on a much less fuel, much lighter car, and he made the move around the outside, but he left his braking too late. And look at that on the top of in the middle of the screen to the left. You can see Tom Christensen. He also kept trying to carry too much speed into that first chicane. He went wide as well. Luckily, able to keep it out of the gravel.
Absolutely. He was so brave there, Christensen, as well. He was just keeping an eye on the car approaching him as Fassler started to slew across the track towards him. Did a little shimmy check, but he didn't get out of the power at all. He just blasted away, and it's Christensen that is in the lead of this race.
He was probably laughing to himself when he saw the number 1 car go off into the gravel on the left, and then he thought, oops, wait a minute, I'm going to get around this corner as well.
Yeah, he wasn't laughing when Fassler started slewing towards him sideways here. My goodness, Stewie. There we go. 2-minute stop-go penalty for the 83 car, incidentally. That is the JMB Racing Ferrari. Just a lack of gloves and a helmet and goggles and a balaclava in the pit lane while dealing with the car. If you touch the vehicle and you're not properly equipped, then there will be a penalty, and that is just tiredness, I think, for that car. But what a battle out front, and indeed the battle for third position, Stuart. It's all raging on now.
This is the battle for third position in LMP2. You've got the Signitech car of Pierre Rags and the Tourette Racing car of Pierre Tourette at the wheel, I think, at the moment. He's giving the old flashes to Pierre Rags. Don't think that's going to work nowadays with these professional drivers. A flasher won't put you off.
No, absolutely not, especially when you're coming through the woodland area anyway, and you almost get a strobe flash because of the shadows of the trees, so it's not much of a distraction. If that was the intent, then it hasn't worked. Holding station, I think you might say, but it'd be nice to stay with this one for a little while. Mind you, I'd love to see what Fassler's reaction has been and just how...
he's back on him,
Yes, here we go. That's what we're looking for, and here is the 1 car. Running lighter, don't forget. Tom Christensen just made his stop, and away he goes, start-finish straight. Oh boy, who'd have thought? Still a quarter of this race remaining, let's not forget.
Yes, very, very good point, Carlton. There is a long, long way to go. Just another, while we watch it, we're not going to take our eyes off this battle for the lead of the race, but just a quick note here from Giles Bovis, who asked on Twitter, any updates on how the new ACO regulations for open cockpits will affect the plans for the Delta Wing? That's an excellent question, because the ACO announced on, was it yesterday or the day before, the new rules for the future. If you're running an LMP1 car, it has to be a coupe. It has to be, it cannot be an open-top car. So that, yes, that will affect the Delta Wing. It's not eligible for any any ACO races in any case. It's just here as an invitation class. But I know certainly Don Panos and Chip Ganassi and Duncan Dayton at Highcroft Racing and Nissan, you know, they want it to be a classified properly as a race car, but it isn't eligible as it stands right now. And for the future, it wouldn't be eligible because LMP1 cars in the future have to be closed cockpit cars.
Liz, who's going to be on the sofa with Robbie, not sitting on his knee, you understand. I think he'll be standing at a lectern, is what I really mean. Just pointed out that Ayari here has just sent in his quickest lap of the race, a 3:39. He's trying to just pull himself away, I guess, from that battle for third place, raging behind him as Rag and Thiriet keep tabs on each other here. Just trying to get traffic out of the way as well out there. The 26 car, has he just seeded the spot? Looks like it.
Yeah, that is a battle for third in P2.
So Pierre Thiriet down past Pierre Rags. You've got Brabs in the behind him. He's just come out of the pits, so he'll be drafting past them in the LMP1 HBD. Coming down into the second chicane. I'd like to get back to this lead battle. I'd like to see how close Marcel Fassler is.
That's what I'm fretting about. 0.9 of a second by the looks of things, which suggests that something dramatic is happening up front, and we're still in the pits here. We want to get back up though, if anyone's listening to us, please. Here we are, the 51 car pitting off the lead. Everything nice and calm with driver change as well going on. Fisichella brought it in here. They've got a nice cushion back to Mello in that class. Running 16th overall, actually. May well approach a top 12 here, which would be something for the 51 car. We'll see how the rest of it pans out here, but please, can we get back up front? That would be lovely. No, still not. We'll check outside our windows then. The 4 car has just come through. Bononomi fully lit up for you. 71 car just passing us by. We're busy waiting here as we check on the sector times of Tom Christensen. He's just coming into sector 3 as we speak. It doesn't take them long to get around at all. Feeding into us right now, and just caught sight of the number 1. Where is the 2 car? I missed it.
They were right there.
Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. Sorry about that.
Second and a half between them as they came across the line, and Tom Christensen now, he's burning off more fuel. The car is getting lighter. A 3 minutes 27 he turned that time around. Marcel Fassler turned a 3:28. Yikes.
That was a little bit scary. The 26 of Rag there, just discretion the greater part of Valor, I think. Backed out of that one, the 46 car in the hands of Thiriet, just getting away at that point. This is a terrific scrap going on here. I guess the director is assuming that there might well be a little bit of team orders settling upon the Audis. Not a bit of it at the moment. They're as close, well, as close as they possibly could be, almost getting into each other a little bit earlier on, in case you're wondering. It's the 2 car of Tom Christensen, if you're only just joining us, that is out front and in a happy place up there. It's magnificent. We're bidding a fond farewell to Jeremy Shaw. He will be back a little bit later on. He's got other duties. Yes. And looking forward to seeing him again. Johnny Molan will be slipping seamlessly into the seat alongside Stuart Hall here. We've had some terrific battles, and just as Johnny joins us, I'm hoping that we're going to get back up front here as Jeremy takes his leave and heads off for a well-earned coffee and a cake. We settle ourselves into some art shots here, which will just give us time to reassemble our thoughts. My goodness, what a race this has turned out to be. If anyone thought this was going to be benign, they can think again, because Johnny Molan, welcome to you. The battle raging on up front, and it's the old dogs who've taken the lead here.
Good morning, Carlson. Hello, Stuart. Funnily enough, I managed to catch a couple of hours sleep, and then I went and looked at the timing screens, and it's all really closed up, but they're all kind of in the same positions, aren't they? But a hell of a lot closer than they were before, so it looks like it's going to be a really exciting finish between a couple of the classes.
Yeah, absolutely. We can all see each other now. Jeremy, who's rather tall, is just taking his leave. The Ultra Motion camera, we've been using this rather a lot. It does give you, bizarrely, it gives you an amazing sense of what the stresses of the vehicles are going through here, despite the fact it's incredibly slow. And that little strobing there, that's not a light being flashed, that's just the operating pulse of those lights, would you believe?
Just having a little bit of a thought here.
Go on then.
Doesn't happen very often.
Try and alliterate.
Easy.
But Christensen and Fassler,
is it painful?
Both pushing very, very hard in cars that are unproven at Le Mans. You've got Bononomi just sitting there, not pushing that car too hard, but just sitting there, could actually be there to pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong to Christensen and Fassler. He's perfectly poised to come in there. If those guys push too hard, get into each other, they nearly did just now, you know, you could have Bononomi on the top step of the podium.
Can you imagine just how livid Audi would be when they're at the point of delivering exactly what they were after, which is the hybrids out front? Yes, the new technology to the fore. That's the aim, they said, when they came here, and that's exactly what we've got. We were suspecting that there might have been a bigger difference in the wet, but they just screamed by us here up the start-finish rate. There they go, disappearing onto the timing line, and it's still Christensen heading faster at the moment. 1.1 seconds between them. Corvette just coming into a little bit of traffic as we go. We're going to take ourselves a brief break, and we will be back in just a wee while here. We have got the weather. We've got a heck of a battle going on, not only at the top of P1, but for a podium spot in P2, and indeed at the head of the field. And GT AM, they keep swapping themselves as well. Yes, the only thing that's more or less settled is GT Pro, one would think. Vilander's on board the 51 car at the moment, and they still have a healthy gap after what was a nice and relaxed changeover from Giancarlo Fisichella. We'll keep an eye on this, and we'll be back live with you in just a few moments' time. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, they say action comes in waves, and we're a little bit calmer right now. Things have just eased into position. I wonder whether a few buttons have been pressed on the radios and some words have been spoken to Gentleman's or Christensen and Fassler. The gap between them now is solidly more than 2 seconds, which is quite a distance at these speeds. I think we were saying before the break that there is an idea here that the new technology must come to the top. And guess what? That's what's happened. It happens to be the 2 car, though, Tom Christensen, that is leading at the moment. So the old boys, wily as they are, holding station. He's never been a man to hold back, and that's the reason why he's a record breaker here at Le Mans. He may well be extending that today. We'll see. We've got a long way to go, though. Still 5 hours and 50 minutes. It's almost remarkable to say that, considering we started yesterday afternoon. You do all those hours, you get to this point, and then you think you've still got nearly 6 hours remaining of racing. It is a remarkable thing, the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Well, I mean, effectively, this is a WEC race to go, isn't it? So you wouldn't say 10 minutes into a WEC race, this is how it's going to finish. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. Having said that, obviously I haven't been watching the screen 100% the entire time, but I don't know if you guys can set me straight if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen the number 2 car make an error. Have you? Have you seen any problems from them? I mean, Dindo, Alan and Tom, unlike the other cars who've had the odd spin here and there or some contact, haven't put a foot wrong that I've noticed. Have you seen
you're
anything?
Absolutely right.
And so in a way, you'd say they deserve to be up front and leading. And from a personal point of view, I would like nothing better than those boys to win another one. Obviously, Alan being a great friend, and also this being probably Dindo's last ever Le Mans. So I think that would be quite fantastic. I don't think Audi would necessarily be too against that either. I'm not inferring team orders for a second, but I don't think they would be displeased.
Well, it's always nice as well to be able to throw out the age limit.
Well, quite frankly, one for the old boys. You see all these young whippersnappers like Stewart, you know, put them in their place.
That's what it is.
Experience
say,
counts.
Look, there he is doing it at 48. So why not? Yes, it extends your career when these boys do this sort of thing. Fantastic. Maybe just in your own mind, but you never know. There we are. It's Audi's 1, 2, 3 and 4 at the moment. Bononomi is on an absolute mission out there, though, and and I think exactly what you were saying, maybe just fluttered across the brains of those at Audi, and they thought, you know what, we don't want Christensen and Faster taking each other out. Let's just calm them down a little bit. They are racers, thoroughbreds, very hard to tame, and yes, they're running an entire stable of them and doing a great job, Audi, at the moment. There's the GT Pro classification at the moment. The 51 car is just in a happy place. Look at that, a clear lap ahead of Mello's machine here. It's also a Ferrari. Darren Turner is on board an Aston, 4 laps down, but Bertolini is on the same lap. Now, this could be a Ferrari lockout of the podium here. They've got better mileage than the Aston, and it may just come into their lap. 1 minute and 13 apart. Darren Turner's job is to hold station. I'm not confident.
It depends. Sorry, I was trying to work out how many stops they would have, but you're right. Like Johnny was saying, there's as we see that's not Saheli Ari, is he? I think that's Saheli Ari. Tom Kimber-Smith is going to be very, very happy with that. Because Saheli Ari was running a couple of seconds a lap quicker than him, pushing very, very hard, and that was Tom's biggest competition. And well, relax now, TKS. You've got a big cushion, mate.
Excuse me. There we are. He has got a big cushion. He hardly live it. He's going to be in happy land here. Yes, that is competition gone. It shows you how hard the IRI was actually pushing. Clearly. So that battle for third place between the 46 and the 26 car is now the battle for second, both in a podium place. So it's just whether it's silver or bronze, I think you might say. Bononomi comes in for what looks like a scheduled stop here. This is his 25th, by the way, so it may well be that they're just filtering their way through. Faster did get an unscheduled stop after tagging a Corvette, incidentally. We were talking about that, but Tom Christensen is still happily just plying his trade out there and just popped in a 3:28. The 12 cars coming in for its regular as well. Nick Heidfeld on board the the Lotus badge Lola here. So the 12 and 13 cars obviously coming to their sequence as well. Heidfeld has only had 24 stops though with this one, unless that screen is about to click over. We'll see.
It's going to be interesting to see, Carlton, how it does pan out, and Stuart's right to think it through, because ultimately we don't know exactly what fuel strategy in terms of where Christensen and Fassler are. It'd be interesting to know exactly how many laps each of them have got left in their stint, because as the race pans out, that little sort of gap between them, let's say they're sort of 5-6 laps apart, could actually make a big difference to who actually ends up winning this race, because they're so close to each other that even just coming in for a splash could turn the lead over to the opposition.
Fastest of the Audis, incidentally, is Loic Duval. Just popped in a 3:27. He holds the lap record, sorry, the fastest lap here. 3:24.189. That wasn't set that long ago, to be honest.
He was flying. I mean,
really
I actually saw that, and that was about 8:45 this morning. He did a sequence of about 3 laps, all in the 3:24. Was absolutely flying at that point. And of course, he's in the position where that car, to be honest, we've seen it with Romain Dumas at the wheel as well, got very little to lose. In fact, Romain in the sort of middle of the night was taking enormous risks and ended up spinning here, didn't he, if you remember?
He did, yeah.
And they've got nothing to lose, really, so it's quite remarkable in a way. They managed to bring that car back up into 4th place overall.
Well, it was they got cursed by me and Mark Cole. In fact, we both thought that would be the car that would make it. Yeah, lack of faith in new technology. Audi kept the faith, and at the moment they're out there and they're leading. 26 car comes in. This engaged in that titanic battle for 3rd place, which has turned into the battle for second, with the problems of Ayari, who got himself into the gravel.
Middle sector there, Carlton, of Ayari, that is. He's done the fastest middle sector, or was that just before he went off? Right, that was impressive. They put him out of the gravel and he goes and does that.
So he's in the pits now, probably new set of tyres, make sure that car's all right. Probably flat spotted them from when he came through Indianapolis, locked up, went straight on into the gravel.
There we are, the voice of Stuart Hall. We've got Johnny Molam here as well. It's been a big old event so far, but there is still an enormous amount of time remaining. We keep saying it, but it's almost hard to imagine. I always get to this point of the morning and just think, what? Yes, exactly. I think drivers must feel the same. Do we get into a sort of a flat zone? I said we have action that kind of comes in waves. Is there just an easing back and then a regathering of resources to before we go on the attack again, nearer to the end game here?
I think as a commentator, absolutely, there probably is. I think as a driver, no, there isn't. I think once you're in the car, I mean, you get up. I mean, like I said, I managed to catch a couple of hours kip, and then I got up and I was feeling, quite frankly, feeling a little bit rough, as we see at the #1 car coming into the pit. So that is actually a very good sign for the #2 Audi.
Very much so.
Because you see the #1 of Marcel Fassler pitting. So even if Tom goes one more lap before he has to pit, that basically means that he's not in a position where he's going to be the one coming in for a splash. So
yeah.
that's very interesting.
He's not that deep into his run, Christensen, as well. He's got a couple of laps to go, hasn't he?
This is Fassler's second stop in this time that Christensen's been out in the whole stint, sort of thing. So
maybe
like
there's
Johnny
more
said,
to it then. Maybe there's more to it than fuel even.
Like Johnny said, it's very, very good for Tom Christensen, actually, because they are now, it is racing for position. There's an 11-second gap. And Christensen's going to be a wily old fats and a hard man to pass. God knows what's going to happen when Alan gets in the car, because he's probably a harder racer than Tom. So Marcel Fassler and Lotterer have got their work cut out.
They certainly have, because they're going to release the Terrier.
Well, I know Alan extremely well, as you all know, and I also know that there's no way that Alan is actually going to let anyone come past him, regardless of anything that anyone says to him on the radio, because he would never be able to live that one down.
No, exactly. I think as well he's carrying a bit of a burden from last year, to be honest, and I would like to cast that one asunder. We're going to take ourselves a commercial break in just a few moments' time, and then we'll be back. But Faster back out of the pits, but Tom Christensen is in a very, very happy place. He's stretching his legs out here. He's just popped in a 3:28.6, and we'll see how long he stays out before he comes in. But he's building up a cushion here for the 2 car. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Just picking up our leader, Tom Christensen. There he is. He's driven a wily old race here. Still sails by the pit lane. And once more, just while we're on the break here, up to Dunlop. Yes, he's in a happy old place here. And I can only imagine. Alan McNish is not given to grinning, but I bet he is now.
I think it's early days yet, and Alan's been in this position before and seen it all slip through his fingers, and it hurts him. Almost physical pain, he's told me once, and I can relate to that, as I'm sure Stuart can. This place can do that to you, and even more reason why, knowing that and in the knowledge of that, having done so many Le Mans before and having seen it go wrong, I know full well that he'll be thinking, he'll be fired up right now, he'll be watching this, he'll be getting himself ready for when he gets in the car, and he'll be ready for battle. And he knows there's an awful long way to go, and we shouldn't be saying anything too early, but certainly right now things are looking rather rosy for the #2 Audi.
They are, and they've just got to not think about the overall result, just keep knocking out lap by lap by lap, no mistakes, keep doing, if they keep doing what they've been doing, then they're going to be very hard to beat.
Absolutely.
Very hard indeed. It's a fantastic result so far for Audi. They're this deep into the race, and they're in the position that they would want to have seen at the very beginning. They've ridden their ill fortune as well, because Duval in the 3 car is on an absolute mission at the moment. He's the fastest of those guys. In fact, I say that Tom Christensen, who's on a light fuel load at the moment, due to come in, is spanking the track. I mentioned that once on a DTM race, and the next week he must have watched the highlights. He can actually. They said, "How's it gone?" He said, "I have been spanking the track." So it's a phrase he's picked up, but yeah, he's doing exactly that at the moment. Terrific, quick through sector 2 as well. I'm just wondering if he's on the attack, because it is soon going to be his turn to come into the pits. It'll be interesting, actually. When will the next change be, drivers-wise?
I think he's got at least another stint left on those tyres, I believe, and then there'll be maybe 1 or 2 stints. Could be wrong, but 1 or 2 stints left on the tyres, then I believe Alan will be getting in the car.
It's a good job that the pit lane area is actually concrete slab, because when some of those brake pads get dropped onto tarmac, see that in Bathurst, it actually melts into the tarmac almost immediately. They're so very, very hot. Just seen the 51 car scream by here, looking on a complete mission, and most comfortable, I think, person out there, bizarrely. 59 cars also on a mission here. They're on the same lap though. No, they're not.
Just seen that Darren Turner, talking about the GTE Pro Class there, Carl, I've just seen that Darren Turner in the 97 Aston Martin has just set his and that car's fastest lap of the race with a 56.2, which at that point is about 3 seconds faster than the leading Ferrari, albeit only about a second and a half faster than Jamie Mello in the 59 luxury Ferrari that's just in front of him. Well, I say just in front of him, 3 laps in front of him. So the Aston's obviously got the pace, but then it's had the pace all race, hasn't it? It's more been a fuel consumption issue with them and a few other little bits and pieces. I think they had a brake problem as well that's actually dropped that car back, but still in a nice podium position for that car.
Muckel had a big off this morning as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Indianapolis.
What solace can Aston take from this? It doesn't look like they're going to head for victory here unless something serious happens to the Ferraris ahead of them. What will they gather from it?
I think they can certainly say they're back on the map. I think after last year, everyone wrote them off. Everyone said, you know, the AMR one didn't come out like it's supposed to. And I think a lot of people wrote them off, and I don't think, you know, they deserve that. You'd see with the DBR9, they were hugely successful. They know how to build racing cars. The LMP1 car I drove was a fantastic car as well. So they got it wrong. So they got it a little bit wrong with the AMR1. But you know, these guys know how to win the Le Mans. If it wasn't for a few little issues, they would have been challenging for the lead right now. Darren's doing a fantastic job, as Johnny was saying. He's into the 356. He's the quickest guy in the class at the moment. And I think they're odds on, if the car holds together and the drivers don't make any more mistakes, they're odds on for a podium, and I think that would be richly deserved.
It would be richly deserved. Just personally speaking, I'd love to see it, but I'm just a bit worried about the Bertolini car, the number 71 here, which is on the same lap, albeit a minute and a half down. So they've got 90 seconds to play with, but we've got just over 5.5 hours here. It could be a real happy day for Ferrari here. Talking about Porsche, well, they may come away with no victory at all if the AM category stays with Pedro Lamy here. He's in the 50 Corvette, and that's running extraordinarily well at the moment. We've seen a little bit of a slice and dice between those two, but they're separated by 23 seconds at the moment. One less stop for Lamy, though. I suspect he's going to have to come in, and that position will naturally just swap the other way. It's how it stands at the end that counts, and for now you can't call that.
Well, we were saying when Raymond Narat got in the car, we thought now that IMSA would be starting to claw back the lead as we've got the dome in the garage. That's
again
an unusual sight, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just saw the jump man throwing his hands in the air and not looking happy. Henri Pescarolo's wandered over to see what's going on, but certainly the body language wasn't looking very positive there a second ago. We'll see what the problem is.
Stu, what exactly was the problem with your car? Why so many engines?
I really don't know. We've had a number of little niggles because it's been new all week. We've had overheating problem. We had, to be honest, I've forgotten now. We had so many issues.
There we are. Even his own team.
Steering problem put pay to the actual race because it was on safety grounds.
Right. So maybe Bouillon was right in that regard.
You know, people criticise him for doing what he was doing.
No.
And you know what? You know, he's been around. He's a very quick driver, same as Collard.
Yep.
And he made the decision based on his experience, and you can't blame him for that. Perhaps I was a little bit naive saying I wanted to drive, but you know, that's the way it is. It's a new car. Hopefully it'll be back. We don't know.
71 car's just come in, Bertolini, so he's making his stop. We'll keep tabs on Darren Turner and the Aston, because these stops, as they sequence through, are going to be absolutely crucial. We're going to take ourselves a brief break or hiatus. It may well be that we stay with some of you around the planet, so just hold on to your seats for a moment. Here we go.